Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's hearing. Again, we're going to hear evidence from someone who was in the tower on the night of the fire.
Yes, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
Mr. Levitt.
Mr. Chairman, we are. Thank you, and good morning. We are now going to hear the evidence of Mr. Marcio Gomes. Can I please call him?
Sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gomes. Let's sit down and make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Gomes, good morning.
Good morning.
Can I ask you to give the inquiry your full name, please?
Marcio Gomes.
Thank you. And I want to begin by thanking you very much indeed for coming here and assisting the inquiry with its investigations. We're very grateful to you. I know that giving evidence and recalling the events of the night may very well be distressing to you. And so if you need a break at any time, all you have to do is just say and we can take a break. I should say I'm planning to take a break at about 10:50, 10 to 11 this morning. So this first session should run for about 50 minutes. But if you need a break during that time, we can do that. I should also say that at times it may be that my questions don't make sense to you or are muddled or something like that. If that happens, please just ask me to repeat the question or put the question in a different way, and I'll do that. Also, okay. I should say that sometimes when you're giving evidence, I may not be looking at you. I may be looking at my notes or the screen following your evidence, but I'm very much listening to what you're saying at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Now, can I start by asking you to look at your first witness statement that you've given to the inquiry, which is IWS 0001078. And there is the first page of it on the screen. It should also be in your little bundle on the table in front of you if you want to look at it in paper form. Many witnesses prefer to follow it on the monitor, and that may be easier for you. Can I ask you please first to be shown the last page of that statement, page 48. And there's a signature on that page over the date of the 12th of September 2018. Is that your signature?
It is, yeah.
And have you had an opportunity to read this witness statement recently?
I've gone through it, yes.
Yes. And can you confirm that its contents are true?
They are true, yes.
Thank you. Now, there are two exhibits to it. MG1, which is IWS quintuple 0623, which is a video taken by you inside the tower, and we'll be looking at that later. And secondly, MG2, which is IWS quintuple 0621, pages 2 to 12, which I think are 11 photographs taken by you of the various things, the refurbishments inside the tower, the replaced windows, and the installation of pipes in the communal area.
Okay, I don't think they were taken by me directly. They were photos that I had from other residents and neighbours.
Right. Well, we'll look at that in due course. And you've also provided a supplemental witness statement, I think, which is dated the 5th of November 2018, which is IWS quadruple 01184. And again, that's in the paper bundle in front of you at, I think, tab 2. Can we look at the last page of that statement? Second page. And it's dated, as you can see, the 11th of November 2018, and there's a signature. Is that your signature?
It is, yeah. It's the 5th of November.
Yes. And have you had an opportunity to read that statement recently?
No, I haven't. But it was only done last week.
It was.
So.
You can probably remember.
So I think I can remember that, yeah.
Yeah, so not even more recently than you signed it. And are the contents of that statement true?
They are.
And the reason you made it, it's clear, is that you were shown, I think, a 999 call that you hadn't addressed in your first witness statement.
Correct.
Right. And there's one exhibit, MG1, which is IWS quadruple 01184, which are various text messages sent and received with your workplace manager during the night of the fire.
Correct, yeah.
Yes. Now, having got through that formal part, can I then start by asking you some background questions? You lived at flat 183 on the 21st floor of Grenfell Tower at the time of the fire.
That's correct, yes.
And I think you'd lived there for about 10 years prior to the fire.
Just over 10 years.
Just over 10 years. And together with you in the flat, living there at the time of the fire, was you, your wife, Andrea, have I pronounced it correctly?
Andrea, yes.
Andrea. And your 2 daughters?
Correct, yeah.
And your dog, Lily?
Yes.
Were you personally in good health at the time of the fire?
Yes.
Were you
very
fit?
much. Yes.
And was your family in good health at the time of the fire?
Everybody was in good health.
Right.
My daughter, my youngest daughter, is asthmatic, but she was in good health.
Yes. And I think your wife, Andrea, was pregnant at the time too.
Yeah, but in good health.
But in good health, yeah. Now, you rented your flat from the KCTMO.
That's right.
But at the time of the fire, you, I think, were looking to buy it, weren't you?
We had it evaluated twice by Kensington and Chelsea as early as January that year because we were looking to buy it, yes.
Right. And at the time of the fire, I think you had a number of concerns about the refurbishment of Grenfell Tower that you've set out in detail in your statement. Now, I'm not going to take you through all of those because you've addressed them very comprehensively in your statement, and they may well be considered as phase 2 issues, so I hope you don't mind if I don't look at those in detail. But there are 1 or 2 questions I do want to pick up on those before we come to the events of the night of the fire itself. First of all, the stairwell.
Yes.
During the refurbishment, do you remember whether your floor numbering changed?
No, it was 18 still on the stairwell.
Right. So although the number of the floor itself changed, is this right, from 18 to 21?
That's right.
The number written on the stairwell did not?
Yeah, it was still 18.
It was still
hadn't
18.
changed, yeah. Or at least for the... I hadn't noticed the change for the last few months leading to that night.
Well, I was going to say, did you actually notice that it had stayed the same?
I used to use the stairs. I used to run up the stairs after football.
Yeah.
So, yes, it hadn't changed. There was some floors had changed. They were stenciled in, but I assumed that was done by residents or somebody else because they weren't all the same. And there was one time where I went onto the 18th floor because I think the 18th floor was changed by a stencil and I went into the wrong floor because it had changed.
Right. So I get a sense of this. How often would you run up the stairs?
I play football every Monday, so it was happening at least once a week.
Right.
For a while, but then leading up until that day, I probably hadn't done it for about 2 months.
Okay. And just so I've understood your answer a minute ago, so some of the floors had numbers which reflected the changed floor numbering?
Yes.
But some didn't?
Correct.
Do you remember even roughly what the proportion of those which didn't reflect the floor numbering was?
Oh, very few. Maybe 2 had the right number, but that was because somebody's sort of graffitied on it the right number.
So
it wasn't done professionally.
Right. So very few had the right number, most had the wrong number. Is that?
Yeah, I'll say 90% had the wrong number.
Right. You say in paragraph 30 of your statement, if you look at it on page 6, that in the last sentence, this issue had been raised with the TMA by myself and other residents, but they'd failed to take any action to rectify this. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you raised that issue with the TMO?
Not date specific, but it was towards the end of the works because I expected them, when they changed the floor numbers to 21 towards the end, to then go into the stairwell and change that. And for a number of weeks after that, they hadn't changed it. So then I brought it to their attention, saying, you need to do that. But that was it, nothing official. I didn't raise a ticket with them or got a reference from them.
Yeah, okay. Turning to the question of windows, on page 6 also of your statement, you cover that from halfway down the page, and you say in paragraph 31 on that page, as a result of the refurbishment, the windows in our flat had been moved out from the original frame so that they were flush and in line with the new cladding that had been put on the outside of the tower. Now, can I ask you, against that background you've given us, to look at a picture, which is IWS quintuple 0621 at page 6. This is one of your exhibits, and it's taken from MG2, which is the second exhibit to your first statement.
Oh, yeah.
Now, is that a photograph taken by you?
Yes.
And is it of a window in your flat?
It is, yes.
We might be able to guess, but do tell us, which window is that?
That's in the sitting room.
That's in the sitting
the
room.
left-hand side of the sitting room.
So, that's the
Face.
left-hand side of the sitting room. So is that looking east?
South.
South?
Yeah.
Looking south, right. I see, so you say left-hand side, the left-hand most window in the sitting room?
Yeah, well, the sitting room had 4 windows.
Yes.
If you think of the 2 walls.
Yes.
So that was the most left-hand side, yes.
Now, when you say that it was flush and in line with the new cladding that had been put on the outside of the tower, just by reference to this window, could you explain where it sat in the window gap, if you like, in comparison with with the old windows?
Well, you can see the old windows there. That frame in front of it, so the one that hasn't, you have the white background at the top that still has the plastic on it.
Yes.
That's a new window. The one in front, I guess on the frame itself, on the wooden frame itself, is the old window.
Right.
Which is still there. Right, in that picture, obviously.
Okay.
So they left the original window in place, is what you're saying, is it?
Correct. So they put the new windows in place via scaffolding on the outside. The old windows were still in place, and then as part of the works, they would then arrange 3-4 days, or maybe 2 days, to come in, remove the internal window, the original window, and then finish off the new window.
Right, so just so I understand this, is this photograph taken, as it were, part way through that work?
Yeah, they hadn't really started apart from putting the window on the outside.
So you've got the outside window, and then they dismantled the inside window?
Yeah, later on,
So,
yeah.
right.
So for a number of weeks, we had 2 windows.
Yeah.
So
Right.
to speak.
Yes. Yes. I was going to say because so this is part of the way through the work.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Now, referring to this photograph, and it may be difficult because it is only part of the way through the work. Do you remember where the workmen cut foam that you describe in your statement to fit into the gaps?
Yeah. So they left the wooden frame in situ. But between where they've taken the metal frame out and the new window,
Yes.
there's a gap all around, and that's where they cut the foam to fit into that.
Right. Are you able to identify more precisely where in the frame they were doing that? You can get up and point if you like.
Yeah.
We may be able to use a red dot, but
It was just down here.
right. Witness is pointing to the window sill, where the sill joins the window frame.
Yeah, so this bit is wood, and then behind it would have been the outside of the wall, but they had to fill it
Yes.
with that fabric.
Yes, thank you. Now, can I ask you to be shown paragraph 33 of your statement? And you can take that picture, I think, off the screen and look at paragraph 33. You say, in the third line, these gaps were filled with mastic and some sort of a foam-type substance. And
Yep.
then you go on to say, the workmen were cutting the foam to try to fit it into the gaps around the windows so as to fill them. The foam seems to have a fireproof coating, which they were cutting through to shape the foam to fit gaps. What made you think that the coating was fireproof?
Well, it was my assumption that it had a silver covering over it, and normally materials that have that silver covering are normally for fireproofing.
Right.
is my understanding.
Okay. And at paragraph 34 in your statement, the page on page 7, you say there were a lot of gaps. As they were using hard foam, it was impossible to mould it perfectly into the gaps which had been created by the fitting of the new windows. The gaps under the window ledges were huge, but this was when the new windows were first put in. The foam attempted to fill the gaps. Then you go on. The workmen then placed the plastic PVC edging round the window ledge to cover the foam, which concealed the gaps, which the foam had not completely filled. Now, just breaking that down a little bit, first of all, you go on to say you were working from home at regular times and you could therefore see the gaps.
Yes.
How often did you, or how much did you see the workmen actually working on the windows?
Quite a lot, and I think I saw that through to the end.
Right.
I generally work from home, or at that time I worked from home 2 days a week, which was Tuesdays and Fridays. But for that piece of work, Andrea was working, so I just worked from home,
right.
While they were fitting all the windows.
Where in the flat were you working?
So that previous picture to the right of it, so in the sitting room.
Right. So you've got a direct view on the work that the workmen were doing?
Yes, I saw it very well.
They were on the outside and you were on the inside? Or were
No,
they
were on the inside.
They were on the inside of your flat?
Yes.
Right. So you were keeping a close eye on them, were you?
Not like that, but I had to work. But I saw what they were doing, yes. I had to give them access to certain things. That's why I had to stay at home and work from home.
No, I understand. Now, you say that the gaps under the window ledges were huge in the third line there. Can you just give us a sense of how big they were?
Well, from where the frame of the old windows starts until to the new, so maybe that, what's that about?
The witnesses?
10 inches, something like that?
10 inches.
Sort of thing.
Right, okay.
8 inches.
And where were those gaps? You said under the window ledges. Is that the new outer ledges or the old ledge?
The new.
The new.
The new part, because they left the wooden frame in situ.
Yeah.
But obviously on the outer bit, the new bit, they had to fill it with something.
Right.
And that's what they were filling it with.
Now, and I've read this to you just a minute ago, but just going back to it, just below halfway through paragraph 34, you say that they covered the gaps with PVC. You say, which concealed the gaps which the foam had not completely filled. When the workmen put the foam in, were there remaining gaps?
Yeah.
How big were the remaining gaps? At their biggest?
I mean, it's probably that.
Inch and a half? Inch?
Inch at the biggest points, right. Because of it was a big square foam that right. you know, solid foam. So it wasn't like a liquid foam where you can put it in and it will get into every gap. So when they were cutting it, so let's say they cut a rectangle, but then there was a bit here, they'd cut a triangle, put it in there, and then they needed another square bit, they'd cut another square bit and put it in there. So obviously once they filled those bits, the bigger bits, in between the others, they wouldn't join and conceal, there'll be gaps.
And where, in terms of around the window, you've got a square window frame or a rectangular window frame, where were the largest of those gaps? Do you recall?
At the bottom bit.
At the bottom?
Yeah.
And if you leant out of the window, assuming there were no workmen in your way, where would you see these gaps? Would you look down?
Yeah, at the bottom.
At the bottom?
Yes. So just behind the wooden frame, the bottom, the ledge.
Now, you then go on in paragraph 34 to say, in the last sentence, after they covered the window ledge with PVC, there were no visible gaps, only small cracks which were letting through drafts of air from outside the building. First of all, were the small cracks visible at all to you?
Once they've laid it?
Yes.
Yes.
They were. Where were those small cracks that you saw?
Underneath the ledge.
Underneath the ledge. On the inside or the outside?
On the inside.
On the inside. Which windows in your flat do you remember suffered from that feature?
There's a few, but the main ones were the sitting room ones where we felt the breeze, and especially the kitchen, because we had a rule with the girls never to go to the windows, because obviously we were scared that they would open it. Hence why the old windows had the security feature on, which you can only open it that much.
Yes.
And with the new windows, it was the same rule. You can't go to the windows, you can't open them, and so on. So we only really opened the one in the kitchen a bit more. And that's where we felt the breeze.
And the kitchen would be on the west side of the building?
Yes.
Overlooking...
West side.
Yeah, right, okay.
Towards Heathrow, yeah.
And which windows let in the most breeze?
I would say the west side windows let in. We felt a lot of the breeze from that side.
And when you say that you felt a lot of the breeze, how strong was the air coming in?
You can walk past it and you can feel the air.
Really?
Yeah, and if you put your hand close to so let's say the edge was like this, you put your hand there, you can feel the breeze coming through.
Now your kitchen's on the west side, as you said before. The living room faces south, because you're on the southwest corner. Did you?
It's south and west.
South end.
Yeah.
South and
it's
west.
in that corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you feel any breeze coming in on the through the southerly windows, which would be the living room?
Yeah, you can, but because we had furniture in front of those windows, you couldn't get close enough for it. But if you put your hand there, you can feel it. Which is how I knew it was coming through.
During the winter that followed the summer of 2016, when the refurbishment finished, did the fact that you had breeze coming through your flat from those windows have any effect on how you heated the flat?
No, I got them to fix it.
Right. And what did they do to fix it?
Well, his name was Sunday. I went downstairs and spoke to Linda Prentice, and I said, "There's breeze coming in." Initially, I didn't really notice it because it was summer, and you didn't really notice it. It's only when it got a little bit colder and windy, and obviously being on the 21st floor, it's generally quite windy up there, that I started feeling the breeze. So I went down and spoke to Linda and said, "There's breeze coming up," and she sent the contractor, whose name was Sunday, which is why I remember.
Yeah.
And he came with, what do you call it, sort of mastiff gun, and just sealed all around the window.
Just pushing my question a little bit more, with a bit more precision. In paragraph 35, you say, as it got colder, we started to feel the breeze in the flat. It felt as if one of the windows in the flat was open.
Yeah.
Before it was fixed, in the way you've described, did the fact that you had breeze coming in during that colder weather affect the way in which you heated the flat?
Yeah, because the flat was cold.
Right.
So we had to turn the heating on a lot more. So yeah, it was much colder.
And then in paragraph 36, you describe how Sunday filled the gaps and cracks around the edges of the windows with mastic filler. And you say at the end of that paragraph, and it was much better after this,
yes.
you say. Did he eliminate the breezes completely, or were there still breezes coming through?
No, I think he eliminated.
Right.
I went round the windows with him, so I made sure he got every hole, basically.
Okay. And did he apply the mastic gun inside the flat, or did he lean out and
Inside.
apply it into the cladding?
It was inside.
Okay. Right. Okay. So far as you know, Sunday never did any filling work
On the outside?
On the outside.
No, the scaffolding wasn't there anymore, so unless it's Spider-Man, but no, he definitely didn't do it.
Some people have talent.
No.
It sounds to me as though he effectively sealed all the edge of the window openings all round below the windowsill and so on with what I'm picturing as the sort of white plasticky sort of filler that painters.
That's exactly it. Yeah. So I think they call it painter's mate or something like that.
Yeah.
So you put that and then you pass your finger or a wipe or something to make it. Yeah. That's exactly what you used.
But I'm absolutely clear. He worked inside, but he didn't fill the gaps that you saw had been left in the exterior cladding with the rigid foam.
No, that's already been covered by the PVC top, so that was never filled. No.
Right. Okay.
This is once the windows were completely finished. That I got him to fill around it.
So that the only barrier between external air and your flat, is this right, is the mastic seal that Sunday put in?
Correct.
I'm going to show you a photograph taken by the inquiry's experts of the interior of the tower after the fire. And I just say that because people might find that distressing, although it doesn't show any fire in it. And I'm doing that because I want to ask you some questions about the air ventilation system.
Okay.
You say in your statement, it's paragraph 68 on page 14, that you noticed that an air ventilation system was being installed as part of the refurbishment. So we should just go to that first before we look at the photographs.
Oh yeah.
You say in the fifth line down from the top of that paragraph, the vents were in two places on opposite walls in the hallway and landing. So if I can ask you then to be shown BLA 000 2513 and 2514, we'll put those two up on the screen at the same time, Mr. Gomez. They're taken on the 6th floor, so not your floor. Can you identify for us in those photographs the vents you're talking about?
Yeah, there's two at the top and two at the bottom.
Two at the top, two at the bottom. And two at the top are on the north wall, is that right?
Yes, that was the opposite side to me, yeah.
And the opposite, your wall is where they're on the bottom, the south side?
Correct, yeah.
Now, let's go back to your statement. You say 6 lines down from the top of paragraph 68 on page 14, when the ventilation system went off, by that I mean when the vents sounded like they were working, it was like a loud Hoover sound, a high-pitched sound. It sounded like there was wind going around the hallway. The noise could keep a light sleeper awake at night if the ventilation system was going off, i.e. working. Now, just pausing there, how often do you recall the ventilation system going off before the fire?
Quite regular. It just kept going off randomly at different times, sometimes over the weekend. And I remember one weekend when it was Saturday, Sunday, it continuous going off. And I phoned TMO and said, you know, that's happening.
Right.
And they couldn't send an engineer until Monday. So we just had to live with it.
And did they send an engineer?
It stopped, so I assumed they did.
Did you ever get any explanation from the TMO or an engineer why it was going off?
No.
Okay. Was there anything you noticed that was happening elsewhere in the building which might trigger it?
No.
Did you ever notice, while it was going off, whether it was having any effect, noise or air movement in the main ground floor lobby of the building?
No, not on the ground floor. A lot of the times when I noticed it was going off, I was working from home.
Right.
And that's why I noticed it. And it was loud enough for my colleagues when I was in a conference call to ask if I had all the windows open and why was there so much wind in my flat.
Inside the flat?
Yeah. And I used to have to put myself on mute so that they can have the conversation.
So that's, you describe it as like a loud Hoover. It
was loud.
Pretty loud Hoover.
Yeah, at its max.
Yeah. Did it ever operate at a lower pitch or softer sound?
I don't remember it operating. Every time it operated or was going off, it was loud.
When it did go off, did you notice whether it had any effect on the operation of the lifts?
No, I didn't notice.
Did you notice whether it had any effect on your hot water?
It had no effect on my hot water.
That you noticed, or?
That I noticed, yeah.
You say, and I've just shown you this, that when it did go off, you say it sounded like there was wind going round the hallway.
Yeah.
Was that like an extra sound, a sound of moving air, or was it the sound of the machinery?
I don't think it was sound of machinery. It was just sound of movement, air movement.
Did you notice any air movement?
When it was going off, you can feel the breeze. Yeah.
Right. Where was
in the hallway?
In the hallway.
Yeah.
Where in the hallway would you feel the breeze coming from when the ventilation system was going off?
From the vent.
from the vent.
Yeah.
Did you ever put your hand up to the vent and feel it?
I don't remember doing it, but I remember I think they had flaps, and I remember some of the flaps were open.
Right. When the ventilation system was going off in the way you describe, and when you were in the lobby, could you describe for us which flaps were open and which were closed, or whether they were both open?
I remember seeing both sides open.
Both sides open.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the ventilation system was going off and you were in the lobby, which direction the air was moving in?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Did you notice whether, and this is, well, did you ever, let me try it this way, did you ever try to open the stairwell door from either direction when the ventilation system was going off?
No, normally I was getting the lift
Yeah.
to go somewhere.
But being a man who used the stairs...
Only going up.
Only going up. I'm just trying to put one and one together. But did you ever use the stairs during a ventilation activation period and notice whether the stairwell door was more difficult to open?
I didn't notice.
Right.
No, sorry.
Okay. Did you ever discuss this ventilation system going off with any other resident of the building?
It was mentioned in the compact group a number of times and with other residents.
Right. So do you know which floors other residents could hear it on when it was going off in this way?
It was various floors, I believe. I don't know specific floors, but I know a lot of the residents were complaining about it going off.
Now, in paragraph 69, you say, I think the ventilation system never really worked properly, as after it was installed, we could hear the suction sound from inside our flat. And you've covered by what you mean by that. Did anybody ever explain to you what this system was designed to do?
No, nobody ever explained that. To be fair, I never really asked as well. I just assumed it was a ventilation system.
Right, that's very fair. And you say at the bottom of page 68, and we're going to come to this in due course, but you say, I could not hear the ventilation system working when I opened the door of my flat onto the landing at just after 2 a.m. This is the night of the fire. And when I later left the flat with my family at around 3:25 a.m. We'll come to it in due course, but is that a clear recollection of yours, that you, despite going through many other things at the time, did not hear the ventilation system operating?
I don't remember it operating. As loud as it is, I would have remembered, I'm sure.
Right.
And I've got a video of me opening the door and you can't hear it.
Indeed.
As well, and you would have heard it.
Indeed. My question was really, and perhaps I'll try it a different way, at the time of your opening the door or escape from the flat on the night of the fire, did it strike you at the time that the ventilation system was not operating?
Yeah, I knew it wasn't operating.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, you also deal with the question of door closers at paragraph 60 of your statement. If you could go, please, to page 12. You describe in paragraph 59 as background that you weren't happy with the automatic door closing mechanism on the front door as the door would slam shut, and you've explained that. And you say, in 60, I reported my concerns regarding the new front door to the TMO and asked them to remove the automatic closing mechanism. The TMO refused to remove it, and then you tell the story in paragraph 60 about how it came to be removed. Mm-hmm. And we have that. And in the end, you removed it, as you say at the end of paragraph 60. How did you do that?
A screwdriver.
Right.
It's just bolted in, but with screws.
Right. Was the mechanism a chain mechanism that went into the inside of the leaf of the door, or was it an external mechanism?
No, it went into the frame of the door.
Right.
In the door itself, so it was bolted in.
Right.
And into the frame.
Right. And you could remove it quite easily, could you?
It's not easy to remove, and it swings back. But I've got some DIY experience, so I knew how to stop it from springing back and hurting me when I removed it.
Okay. Do you know whether others in the tower did the same thing as you with their door closers?
I believe they did, yes.
But do you know?
Not 100%.
Without naming names, do you have specific recollections of specific flats where people did that?
I know some flats weren't working, but I don't know the reason behind it.
Now, you tell us, and there's no need to go to it, but I'll just give the reference. It's paragraph 79B of your statement on page 17, that you had a visit from the LFB about 3 months before the fire. Do you remember whether during that visit the LFB spotted the fact that your front door did not have an automatic closer?
Well, but they didn't say anything.
They didn't say anything.
If they did spot it, they didn't say nothing.
Right. Now I want to turn to the night of the fire itself, Mr. Gomez, if I can.
Okay.
And to start with the late on in the night of the 13th of June, who was at home with you that night?
Andrea and my
Family.
2 daughters.
Right. Now, picking it up at paragraph 76 of your statement on page 16, you say there, at approximately 1:30 a.m. on Wednesday the 14th of June 2017, both Andrea and I were awoken by a banging on our front door and the noise of commotion outside of the tower. The noise of the commotion outside of the tower, what sort of noise was that?
Just loud noise, louder than normal. You can really hear, because we're on the 21st floor, but you can hear sounds. And obviously sound was travelling up, and you can hear the commotion.
And I don't think it's necessary to take time going to a plan, but just tell us, which was your bedroom in the flat? Which direction did it face?
Did it face south?
South. And was it the nearest to the front door? Or
Yes, it's the one directly in front of the front door.
So you overlook pretty clearly the front lobby entrance.
Yep.
When you woke up, you say you went to answer the door. At that stage, did you notice any signs of smoke in your flat?
Not in my flat, no.
Did you look out of the window at that stage?
No, I didn't.
Did you see anywhere any signs of fire at that stage?
No.
And you just go on to say that in the same paragraph that Helen and her daughter, Helen Gebremeskel and her daughter, were at the door with their dog. And you say she was clearly very upset. This is the end of the paragraph. She was breathing heavily, talking quickly, and looked very worried. She told us that there was a fire in one of the flats in the tower. You say that?
Yep.
Did she tell you which flat?
Not that I recall, no.
So she didn't tell you that her kitchen was on fire?
Not to me, no.
Right. Now, looking ahead to paragraph 77, next on page 16 of your statement, you say, whilst we were at the front door speaking with Helen, I could hear my next door neighbour, Abdullah from flat 182, talking with people, who then went into his flat.
Yep.
Is that Abdullah El-Wahhabi?
Yes.
Could you see him yourself?
No, I can hear him.
Right. And his front door is to your left?
Right.
Is to your right, sorry, as you look out of yours.
Yes, to my right.
To your right, as you look out of yours. And to the left as you're looking at it. Did you see anybody else he was talking to?
No, I hadn't stepped out. Andrea was in front of me. Andrea opened the door, and then Helen was there with her,
Right.
and I was behind in my flat in the corridor still.
Could
So I can hear
I'm so sorry.
the discussions going on,
I see.
but I couldn't see. I hadn't stepped out to see.
Could you see the people he was talking to?
No.
Did you see anybody else at that stage?
No, the only people I saw was Helen and Lulia, because they were right there in the front of my door.
Okay. I think at this stage, I think I will show you the layout of the flat. Can I ask you please to be shown MET 000-12593? Now this is a cross-section of the building from the 4th floor up, and you can see that the flats are sequentially numbered, with flat 1 starting in the middle of the east elevation, working around in a clockwise direction to flat 6 on the northeast side. You are on the southeast corner. Your flat was on the southeast corner.
Southwest.
Southwest.
Sorry. Southwest corner, flat 3. And that, if you blow that up, you can see that your front, well, we haven't quite got it. Perhaps we'll stay with the unblown up version for the moment. Yeah, your front door is there, and flat 182, as it would be to your right as you look out.
Yes.
Where were you standing when the front door was open to Helen?
So if you're looking at that, where you see, you haven't got the front door, but let's pretend that line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Because it's good to stand up.
Let's pretend that's the front door because it opened that way.
Right.
I was standing here, inside the flat.
You were standing.
So Andrea was here, Helen was here, and Ludia was here.
I see. Okay. And the discussion that you heard Abdullah El Wahhabi having was it this right round the right-hand corner and out of eye shot?
Correct. Yeah, it was. From my understanding, my hearing, it was right in front of his door.
Yeah. And your bedroom is the one, just so while we've got it, is the one, it's the easternmost on the south flank.
Correct.
Right. So pretty much opposite the front door once you get past the hall.
It's right opposite. Yeah.
Okay.
The entrance of my bedroom door is right opposite the front door. Yes.
Okay. Now I know it's difficult. How many people do you think at the time Abdullah was talking to?
I would imagine about 3 or 4 different people,
Right.
but I can't be certain because I didn't see myself. I just heard voices.
Voices. Were they male voices, female voices, or a mixture?
It was a mixture.
Okay. And could you hear what they were saying?
Not 100%. No.
Okay. Now, at paragraph 77, you say 5 lines down, Helen informed us that she and her daughter had tried to go downstairs and was sent back up by a firefighter. Is that what Helen said while you were standing at the front door?
Yes.
Do you remember that clearly?
Yes.
Did she tell you why she'd been sent back up by a firefighter?
No. It wasn't just her, it was the whole group that she was with was sent up.
Did you see any other members of the group?
Well, my assumption was that the ones going into 182 was part of that group.
I see.
Because they all came up together.
Do you know roughly how many were in that group? Did you get a sense of how many were in that group?
Well, I heard about 3 or 4, but it could have been more.
Okay. Now, from where you're standing, and perhaps we need to get back to the map at 12593 if we can, the diagram at 12593. From where you're standing at your front door, you can, well, let me ask you, do you have a good view of the stairwell door, which would be looking to your right, diagonally?
If I stepped out, yes.
If you stepped out?
It's diagonally right there. So I would have a good view to it, yes. But at that moment, no, because I was behind Andrea.
Right. So you couldn't see whether the stairwell door was open or closed?
No. If I had opened the door, I could, because I just need to open the door and I can see it diagonally across me. But because Andrea opened and I was behind her, I couldn't see it.
Now, from where you're standing I'm not sure whether you can get a good view of the front door of flat 6, but
No.
you can't, all right?
No, even if I'm standing by the door, you can't see it.
Now, can I ask you please then to go forward to page 19, paragraph 82. You say, when Helen, her daughter, and Simba came into our flat through our front door, I could see smoke on our landing. It was black smoke, and it was quite close to the ceiling at that point, and you could see through it. This was around 1:25 to 1:30 a.m. Now, first of all, did you get an opportunity to smell the smoke?
No, I didn't. I couldn't smell anything, or at least I don't notice smelling anything at that moment in time.
And this is when they come in through your front door, as you say. Did you have to open the front door in full to let them in?
Andrea opened the door in full, yes.
Yeah, you or Andrea opened the front door in full. They came into your flat, and you look and you see what's on the landing. Could you see at that time where the smoke was coming from?
No, I had no idea. Because at that time when we opened the door, Helen hadn't come in yet. She was just standing on the frame of the door, pretty much, with Andrea. So we just had a brief conversation. We'd just woken up, so I was still a little bit.
You say it was quite close to the ceiling. How far below the ceiling was the smoke layer at that point?
It was only a little bit. I noticed it because of the light. Right outside my front door, there's the communal light.
Yes.
So I noticed because it sort of it sparkled, which caught my attention, and that's when I looked up and saw that smoke.
Now, first of all, in the answer before last, you say a little bit, and you put your finger and thumb a distance apart. Just for the transcript, how thick was the smoke layer in terms of centimetres?
Well, it's 2 inches.
2
So
inches.
about.
Okay. And then you say, in the last answer, that the smoke. Did you say it sparkled?
It's what caught my attention. I don't know if it's because of the light. Because the light is right there, something just sparkled, and it just caught my attention. That's when I looked up.
When you looked up and you examined the smoke, or saw the smoke, could you see this sparkling phenomenon?
No, not really. It just looked like dull smoke, but I didn't really examine it, to be honest. I just,
Right.
Helen just finished telling me that there was a fire somewhere in the building, and I saw a bit of smoke.
Right.
I didn't. The door didn't remain open for too long after that.
So as far as you could see, were all the lobby lights on and working at that point?
Yes, I can see clearly.
And you say in this same paragraph, 3 lines down, this was about 1:25 to 1:30 a.m. How do you recall that was the time?
I remember looking at my phone on the side, because it was probably the first thing I did when I heard the banging. So my phone always charges on my bedside table.
Yes.
And I remember looking at it and just recalled it being around that time.
Yes. And you didn't look again at the... So
No.
say this was...
No, I was... I sleep in boxes, and so I'm not accustomed to opening the door in that way. So Andrea went to open the door, and I was getting changed, so I didn't look again until much later.
Right. Mr. Gomez, I'm going to ask the chairman now to take a break, if I may, if that's not
Yes.
inconvenient to you.
Well, we have been running 50 minutes. That might be a good point to have a short break.
Okay.
Before we do break, can I just say this? I understand that there's going to be a short remembrance service in the courtyard, Waterhouse Square downstairs at 11 o'clock. I don't know how long it's going to last. Anyone who wishes to attend will be very welcome. And I think in view of that, we'll take a slightly longer break and resume at 11:10. All right? Now, Mr. Gomez, we're going to have a break, slightly longer than usual, but never mind. Please don't talk to anyone about your evidence while you're out of the room. and we'll come back at 11:10.
Okay.
All right? Thank you very much.
Do I go?
Now you can go with the usher. Yes, that's it.
Thank you.
Right, 11:10, please. Yes, would you ask Mr. Gomez to come back, please? Thank you. All right, Mr. Gomez?
Yep,
Happy to continue? Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Gomez.
Mr. Gomez, thank you for coming back to us. Before I move on, can I just get back to something that relates to what we were talking about before? When you open, or used to open your front door, was there a light in the lobby near your front door or over it?
Right in front.
Right in
much.
front.
Yeah.
Where was it? On the ceiling or on the walls?
Ceiling.
On the ceiling. How
Yeah.
close to the entrance to the door was the light?
It was about halfway between my front door and the riser cupboard and in the ceiling.
Right.
But a bit to the right.
Bit to the right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So enough that it would. We had a door that had the
A fan light.
not. Is it called? Yes, a fan light. Yes, I guess. Which would.
Glass at the top.
Yes, that's right. Which would let the light through. So it was a bit to the right, but not directly above.
Okay. So on a normal night, could you clearly see light through your, I've called it a fan light, the fan-shaped glass in the window, in the door?
Yeah, I could see it, yeah.
And when you opened the door, would the light in the ceiling in the lobby outside your door throw light onto your
Yes.
threshold?
Yes.
It would?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only light in the ceiling that would give light to that corner. So, yeah.
Okay. And when Helen arrived and knocked on your door and you opened the door, Andrea opened the door, as you've said, you could see her clearly illuminated, could you?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, everything was normal, aside from the bit of smoke and obviously that was all around the light.
Yeah. Now, moving on, can I just ask you some questions about fire safety advice? You say in your statement, and you don't need to go to it, we touched on it earlier, that you were given a visit, paid a visit at home by the LFB, who checked your fire alarms. Do you remember when that was?
Not specifically.
Okay. It's some months, 3 months or so before the fire, I think is what you say.
Yeah, I did have it pointed in the calendar, but...
Did they give you any other fire safety advice at the time?
Such as... I mean, we discussed a couple of things when they were testing it up. Are you referring when they came around to test the smoke alarms?
Yes.
So we did discuss with who I believe was a senior person, or at least the fireman that was in charge, around the stay put policy. But it was very brief, and it was just he asked, do I know the procedure? And I said, yeah, I'm aware it's a stay put. And he said, yeah, that's right. And then he went on to say that you know, each apartment is designed to contain the fire if there was one. So you'd have plenty of time, yeah. And that was it, really.
It looks from your statement, and I say don't go to it, perhaps we should go to it. It's page 17, 4 lines or 5 lines up from the bottom of that page. You say, he asked me, do you know what the procedure is? Mm-hmm. No, this is the bottom of the page, 4 or 5 lines up from the bottom of the page in B. He asked me, do you know what the procedure is in the case of a fire? I replied, I'm aware that there is a stay put policy, and that means you stay in your flat if the fire is elsewhere in the building, unless it is in my flat, and then I would get out. Who initiated that conversation? Who started it? Did you ask him, or did he ask you if you knew?
No, he asked me.
Right. And your knowledge that you have described there, that you put in your answer to him, what was the source of that?
Well, there was I remember talking to Janice when we first, Janice Jones, that is, she was the TMO officer that dealt with our accommodation. And when we first moved in, or at least when I signed the contract, we had a conversation around the stay put policy.
And you've covered that in detail in your statement of paragraph 79A, and I won't ask you about that. Can I just ask you about signs in the building?
Yeah.
Did any of your information that you had about stay put, which you repeated back to the firefighter, come from any signs that you'd seen in the building?
That would have influenced it as well, yeah, because I remember reading the signs that was by the elevators.
Right. Just to be clear, can the witness please be shown INQ 6 zeros, sextuple 093? Is that the sign you're referring to, Mr. Gomez?
Yes.
Right. And clearly, am I right in thinking you studied it carefully and understood it very clearly?
Well, I think so, yes. I mean, I read it a number of times because it was, if I remember correctly, it was on the ground floor in between the lifts. And there's such a big tower, there's a lot of times where you have to wait for a few minutes. Yeah. And I'm the type of person that just reads every sign to pass the time. So, yeah, I was quite familiar with that.
Yeah. And it was on your floor as well, was it?
It was, I think, to the right of the lift on my floor.
To the right of the lifts, as you look at the lifts?
So as I'm looking, I think it was on the right-hand side, so towards the north facing.
Towards the north, as you look at the lifts towards the north?
Yes.
Yes.
North facing of the building, yeah.
Now, can I ask you to be shown another sign? IWS no, it's 5 zeros, I think. 5 zeros, 500. IWS 5 zeros, 500. Yes. Now, do you remember ever seeing a sign like this in, at, or around Grenfell Tower?
I don't remember, but I think that was when we first moved. It was at the back of the ground floor, I think.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you 100%.
Okay. Do you remember whether that sign ever disappeared?
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
Soon after we moved in, so yeah, it did disappear.
It did disappear. And you say soon after you moved in it disappeared, is that right?
I think I remember seeing it in the back on the ground floor. So as you go through the main doors, obviously pre the work, it was in the sort of poster area in the back, if I remember correctly, near the lifts, the ground floor lifts. But it didn't stay there long, or at least I don't remember reading it that often.
Okay. And when did you first notice the new signs, the green and red signs we saw a moment ago?
I think it was just after the refurb, or just before they finished.
Right. So about 2016?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Can I ask you now to be shown something else, which is ART quadruple 2606. Now, this is a newsletter published by TMO and Ryden, dated July 2014. Yeah. First of all, Mr. Gomes, do you remember receiving newsletters such as this?
Yeah, we had numerous newsletters like
that.
Yeah.
Do you remember seeing this one in particular, July 2014? Just to refresh your recollection, what's been happening? And then you told about the demolition of the ramp.
Yeah, I remember those photos.
You remember the photos?
Yeah.
Right. Can I ask you to turn to the next page? And you can see in the last item at the bottom, emergency fire arrangements. If we could have those blown up, please. Our long-standing stay-put policy stays in force until you are told otherwise. This means that unless there is a fire in your flat or in the hallway outside your flat, you should stay inside your flat. This is because Grenfell was designed according to rigorous fire safety standards. Also, the new front doors for each flat can withstand a fire for up to 30 minutes, which gives plenty of time for the fire brigade to arrive. Do you remember reading that?
Yes, I do.
What impression did that information have on you at the time?
That it was safe to stay in a flat.
When Helen arrived and came into your flat with her daughter and her dog, did you discuss fire safety advice, stay put,
Yes.
if you like, with them. You did.
Yes.
And what about with Andrea? Did you discuss it with Andrea?
It was both. They were together. I tried to reassure them that it was a stay put policy and everything will be okay. And we went into everything's going to be okay in terms of it's not going to spread from the flat. Let's wait until the firefighters deal with it, and then, we'll just get told it's dealt with.
Yeah. After Helen came in, and you were all in the flat together, did you then look out of the windows of your flat through any window?
Not straight away.
Not straight away. At what point after Helen arrived did you first look out of your windows?
I would say maybe 15, 20 minutes after.
Okay.
Because it was sort of, when they came in, the first thing I said to Lulia, because she used to sleep at ours, and it's Helen's daughter, she used to sleep at ours, and the girls used to sleep at hers, so she knew where their bedroom was. So I said to her, because they were sleeping at that time, so I said to her, go into the girls' room and wake them up. And then Helen and Andrea and myself sort of went towards the kitchen area, the living room area, just to have a conversation around, what we're actually seeing. So amongst all of that going on, and then coming back, making sure the girls were awake, and I just asked them to get ready, make sure they were ready, tracksuit bottoms or whatever it was. So it was about 15, 20 minutes after that I just went to the window.
Okay. And then picking it up, if I can, at paragraph 85 of your statement on page 19, you say, you could take the newsletter off and have that. You say, I then started to look out of the window to see what was going on, and I could see a couple of fire engines, etc. Is that the first time that you looked out of the window?
Yes.
Now, as we know, your flat faces south and west. I call it the southwest corner. Which windows did you look out of at that point? Do you remember?
It was the south,
right,
the one right to the picture that you showed me earlier.
At that point, could you see any signs of fire or smoke?
No.
Okay. Now, at paragraph 86, you say, at this point, my instincts just kicked in. I knew there was a real problem. Why did you, at that point, think there was a real problem?
Well, the amount of commotion, the amount of lights, and I saw firefighters running into the building. I didn't think it was just, somebody burning toast, basically.
Right.
So I thought I'd better be safe, rather than not, or be prepared rather than not.
And then you go on to say, I started to fill the bathtub up with water.
Yes.
Just at that point, did you notice any problems with the water pressure?
Not straight away, no.
Did that come later?
Yes.
At what point do you remember that came?
The problems?
With the water pressure?
There was no water.
Yeah, but at what point in time?
It was just shortly after I took the video. So I think probably just after 2:30 in the morning.
Okay. Now, at the time you started to fill the bathtub, did you notice smoke coming into the flat at all?
Yes.
Where was it coming in from?
The door, the main door.
The main
front
door, the front door. From whereabouts around the front door was the smoke coming at that time?
The side and the bottom.
Okay. And you think that's about 20 minutes after Helen came in?
The smoke?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm working from responding to seeing the commotion outside, filling the bathtub, sensing the smoke.
Yeah, so maybe about 25, 30 minutes after, yeah,
Okay.
give or take. But it changed rapidly from when I first opened the door to Helen to the second time I opened the door. It was pitch black.
We'll come to that. But just at this point, when you're filling you're aware there's a problem, and you start filling the bathtub.
Yeah.
Is it, just to be clear, it's at that point that you notice smoke starting to come into the flat?
It was shortly after that, yes, because then I took a towel out and put it at the bottom of the
Right.
of the door.
Right. The smoke that was coming in, could you describe it for us?
It was grey, a bit dark grey smoke coming in.
Right. And at paragraph 87 of your statement, moving through this, you say, in the last two sentences, the smoke smelt toxic. Any time I breathed it in, it made me gag. When you say it smelt toxic, could you just explain why you say that?
Because it made me gag. I've smelt smoke before in barbecues and it never makes me gag, but this was an overpowering smell. So as soon as you try and take a breath in, it was just making me sort of want to puke up straight away. Right. I had the gagging sensation basically.
Right.
With it.
Did you notice any particular odour about the smoke?
Well, I felt it was chemically infused smell, but nothing I'd really smelt before. The only thing that sort of comes to mind is back in school when I used to do chemistry in the science lab with the Bunsen burners. It was that type of smell when you're burning some chemicals, and it was there, but it was just more chemical, higher dosages, I guess.
Then you say in paragraph 90, page 20 of your statement, I'd opened my front door a few times after Helen and her daughter came into our flat to check the state of the smoke in the hallway. Each time I opened the front door, I could see the smoke was getting thicker and thicker until it was eventually pitch black outside. How many times did you open the front door before you fill the bath and put towels down?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I think I'd done that already.
Right. So this opening the front door starts after the smoke starts coming in and you're trying to block it with the towels?
Yeah, I just wanted to see what was behind that door.
Yeah. How many times do you think you opened the door?
Well, I estimated 7 or 8 times.
Now,
but I wasn't keeping count. Sorry.
Did you notice each time whether the lights in the lobby were on and working or not?
I remember opening it and it was already dark. So I don't think the lights were on, but I'm not 100% on that.
Was there a time during this process of opening the door that the smoke was thin enough that you could see where the light was and that it was not shining?
Well, I can see the light through the door panel, so I didn't have to open it to see the light.
Okay. During that, then, did you notice the light fading, or did you notice the light was suddenly not on anymore?
When I came back, it just wasn't on.
Right, so it went from being on to being off.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Because I wasn't always at the front door.
Now, we're going to come to the first of your 999 calls, which is, we have timed at 02:21 and 04 seconds. Before we get to it, can I just ask you some questions about the conditions in your flat at that time, 02:21? By that point, Helen and her daughter had been in your flat for a little under an hour or so. Mm-hmm. Why did you not call LFB before that? Do you remember?
Don't remember specifically, but I did get some phone calls from other residents from the tower.
To say, I think you explained what.
But they were telling me to get out. That I needed to get out. Right. But I think at the time I said I couldn't. It's dark. Right. And then I decided to phone 999, and I think it was one of my friends. I said, phone 999 and see what they say.
Right. Before you phoned 999, what were your expectations?
That the fire brigade would deal with the situation, and somebody would be knocking on the door saying everything's resolved. Go back to bed, sort of thing.
When you saw the smoke getting thicker and thicker and the light going off, did you notice? Well, let me just ask it this way, first of all. Did you notice the light going off before or after you made your first 999 call?
It was off already when I made that call.
Okay. Did there come a point when you saw the smoke getting thicker and thicker and you noticed the light was off in the hallway that you thought to yourself, we must leave before it gets worse?
Yeah, I wanted to leave. But it was just difficult to navigate, and I didn't know what we were going to go through at that point.
Did the fact that Helen had told you that she had been told to go upstairs by a firefighter have any influence on your thinking at that time?
Yeah, absolutely.
It did?
Yeah, because if you're getting told to go into a flat and wait, then that tells me that they're dealing with it and it's quite safe. Why would you keep somebody in a building if it's not safe?
Mm-hmm. Did you have any specific thoughts about whether it was safe to go down the stairwell, assuming you could get across the communal lobby?
Well, my assumption was that if the hallway was covered in smoke, then the stairwell was going to be covered in smoke. But obviously I had no way of confirming that.
Now, we can go to your first 999 call, which is LFB 348. And we can see the time of this call from the strapline of blue numbers across the top of the page, and the time is the second from the right. The group of numbers second from the right, 022104. And you can see from the first page of that that you're reporting a fire. I'm not going to read it all to you. And you're told by the operator that they're on scene and dealing with it now, and you tell her you're still on the 21st floor. And then halfway down the page, she says, "Sorry, I can't hear you, can you?" And you say, "And I can't get out. I said I'm still on the 21st floor." At this point, had you made any attempt to leave?
Yes, I believe so.
How long before this call had you made an attempt to leave?
Not long, because I would have called him straight, pretty much straight after. So right. maybe a couple of minutes max. Okay.
And was it that inability to leave that motivated you to call the LFB at that point?
Yes.
Now,
I knew the LFB were there because we could see it from the window, and they were being dealt with. And obviously, I've spoken to other residents that were outside. But when we tried to get out, it was just too difficult.
And when you say you tried to leave, does that mean that you'd got the family together with towels on and got ready to go out?
Yes. So I'd filled the bathtub with water and threw sheets, big bath robes and tea towels and everything that I can sort of grab. And I sat everybody down together and I said, when we try to escape, when we try to leave, this is the order that we're going to do it in. So I put Helen as the adult at the front. And I said she needs to lead the way, followed by Andrea, my daughter, my youngest daughter, behind her, and then Helen's daughter and my daughter behind them. And the plan was I was going to be the last one, so that I can try and motivate him, push him down, and keep going, sort of thing. So we discussed that to the point where I said, as soon as you open the front door.
Take it slowly.
Yeah, just take it slowly.
Whenever you're ready.
So I said, as soon as you open the front door, you know where the stairwell door is, which is basically go diagonally. You're going to hit the door. The door will swing open. So don't worry about that. Just go straight through. As soon as you go through that, grab the rail, the middle rail, and just don't let go of the rail and just follow it down because that's your quickest route down. So we all knew what we had to do at that point.
And just to be clear, This is at the point before this first 999 call.
Yes, I believe. Yes.
So you already had.
Yeah, we had that conversation beforehand. Yes.
Right. So there was a clear plan.
Yes.
A family plan.
Yes.
Right.
Everybody was to have a tea towel around their face and a bed sheet or a big towel over them, because we didn't know what to expect in the stairwell.
Yes. Now, going to page 3 of the transcript, in the middle of the page, you're told by the operator, it's all right because what we're doing is we're telling our command units that are on the scene and they're going round the flat. So I just need to confirm you're in flat 183, 21st floor. And then you go on to say who's in the flat. And at page 4, you say, top of the page, yes, she's 7 months pregnant, 7 months, okay, I'm going to tell them that and they'll come and take you out. And then she goes on halfway down the page to say, okay then, that's fine, well I'm going to, as soon as I put the phone down to you, I'm going to go and tell our command unit that's on the scene, and they're, okay, you said, going round people at the moment, okay. And the call basically finishes. After that conversation, what did you believe would happen next?
Somebody was coming to rescue us.
Did you have any thoughts or beliefs about how long that might take?
Yeah, I thought maybe 10, 15 minutes, because you have to come up the stairs, was my assumption.
Did that have any influence on what you then did next?
Well, I waited by the door. So, yeah, I told the girls to make sure that they were ready, had their trainers on, that they were ready to go. So I kept encouraging them to be ready, basically.
Right.
They were in the sitting room, sitting on the sofa that time. Helen and Andrea was by the kitchen window for the majority of the time, so I was just making sure that they were all ready to go. What I was expecting was a big bang on the door, and I would open it and we would all go.
Right. When, at the point that the call finishes, was there any smoke coming into your flat?
There was smoke coming in, yes.
And was it coming through the front door, as before?
Yes.
Anywhere else?
I'm not sure about anywhere else. The majority of the time I was in the corridor inside my flat. So I don't know about anywhere else. We had the windows open.
You had the windows open?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take you next to the video of your front door opening, timed at 02:32. So 12 minutes or so after your 999 call, your first 999 call. I should just give a trigger warning about this, Mr. Chairman. This has been seen before. Those who were or have looked at the evidence of Miss Gebremeskel, Helen Gebremeskel, will remember that I showed it to her. It does contain content which some people might find distressing.
Yes.
And so I'm going to pause for 20 seconds or so to allow people to take the necessary measures to protect themselves from it.
I think that's right.
It shows nothing of the exterior of the building on fire. But it is a picture of
But
moving
it might
smoke.
bring back some very uncomfortable
It may.
memories. Yes.
It may. If we can tee it up before we play it, it's IWS 50623.
Well, no one seems to want to leave this room, and I think there's been enough time for people to leave other places where they can view this.
So
we'll
let's
go on.
proceed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we can just have that video shown. I'm going to play it once or twice to see how we go.
Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You are crying.
Now, first of all, to confirm that you say that the time of that video is 02:32.
Yes.
And where do you get that time mark from?
It's the timestamp on the video itself.
And you took it yourself, did you?
Yes.
So your phone was in your left hand, and you opened the door with your right.
I think so. Yes.
Maybe
yes,
me
it was
getting my left and right mixed up, but I think
yes, because I tested the heat on the door with my right. Yes.
Okay. Now, I just want to ask you to look at one or two things. First of all, can I ask it be played and then paused after 4 seconds, if we can do that? Now, we saw in that clip, let's see it again. No, we don't need to see it again. We saw in that clip smoke coming up the left-hand side of the door. Was it coming from anywhere else around the door?
And at the bottom.
Right. Now, let's play it from the start and see if you can just identify, as it's being played, where the smoke was coming through the bottom of the door.
Before it's played, can I ask, is it possible to freeze it so that we can get a still shot?
Yes.
Rather than just cutting the transmission generally?
Yes, it is. One can stop.
Can I just say that there is towels there already? There's a towel at the bottom, and I managed to put a towel on a hook on the side. Well, you can see on the video.
Yes,
yeah.
I was going to ask you about the
tell
towel.
us in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just see if we can capture the smoke coming through the bottom of the stairs. So if it's possible to play it, and then stop now. Can you point out where the smoke's coming in? Or can you identify the smoke itself?
It'll be down here, and you can see that's a white towel, by the way. So you can see it's already darkened.
Right, and those grey blodges, is that smoke?
Yes, I believe so.
Right. Just playing on a second or two more. And now stopping there. So the object hanging on the door hook, what is that?
That's another towel.
That's another towel.
One of the bigger towels I had, yeah.
Okay.
So because it was coming in through the side as well, I tried to put a towel there to try and stop it as much as possible.
If we can just play on and then stop it at 18 seconds.
Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You are crying.
There. Now, at this point, the door is partially open, as we can see. And we can see what's outside. Well, we can't see what's outside. Was that blackness that we can see blacker than on previous occasions that you'd opened the door?
Yes.
It was. How much blacker, if it's possible to describe it?
Well, you can see your hand in front of your face there.
No.
It was that dark. Because just before I took that video, I tried to go to my neighbour's.
Right. So you tried to go into it?
To their door.
How far did you get? No.
Not past that door.
Okay, just take a second. I'm going to ask for this to be played on a little bit more to the end. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. If we can just play it to the end. Now, the smoke that you saw at that point, when you opened the door, could you smell it, or did it have a physical effect on you?
Oh, it made me gag or cough on that one. But it was just difficult to breathe. And I remember my eyes stinging as well with that.
Your eyes stinging. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Does the video that we've seen to the best of your recollection, accurately reflect the thickness and the colour of the smoke outside your flat at that time?
Yeah. Yes,
It does it justice, does it?
It does, yes.
Okay.
There's a white wall right in front of that door, which you clearly can't see, which is probably about 1 metre away. So it just tells you the thickness of that, the smoke there.
Now, we know from the video, we can hear it, I'm not going to play it back to you, that we can hear a shower running
Yes.
in the background. And I think you say in your statement, at paragraph 88, and again, there's no need to look at it, that you turned it on because the air was dry because of the smoke,
Yeah.
and you wanted to get wet particles into the air to try to make it easier to breathe. Did it help?
I'm not sure if it did, but my thinking was, because it was so dry, if I can try and get at least some wet particles in the air, it makes it easier. I think it probably did, but I can't say 100%. It stopped soon after that.
I was going to ask you, how long after it do you think it stopped?
Maybe 5-10 minutes after that, it stopped. But luckily, I had filled the bathtub already.
Did it stop suddenly, or did it just gradually come to a halt?
I can't remember. I just remember walking back and it had stopped.
Right.
So the bathroom is right where I opened that front door. The bathroom's the wall on the left.
And, okay, this may not help very much, but do you remember whether it was hot water or cold water or a mixture of the both?
I think it was cold water.
Right.
But I can't be... I might have turned both of them on.
Do you recall it ever starting up again, the water?
No, I left the tap open and it never did.
It never did, right. Now, at the time you were in the flat, around about this time, you say in your statement that you received calls from friends outside, so Miguel Alves and Ivan Costa Suarez. Did they give you any advice on what to do?
Miguel told me to get out.
Well, you were on the phone to Miguel. You say in paragraph 102 of your statement that you heard him receiving advice from emergency services.
Yes.
And from a firefighter or a policeman, I think you say. Do you remember how many conversations you heard him have?
I think 2 that I heard him have. Yeah, at least 2.
And if we go to paragraph 102 of your statement, which is on page 22, at the very bottom of the page, you say, 3 lines up, I could hear the advice he was given by a member of staff from the emergency services, which was to hang tight and someone will come up for us. What did you understand by hang tight?
Wait.
And how late, how late into the night do you remember that advice? What sort of time was the hang tight advice that you heard via Miguel?
That would have been before my first 999 call.
Okay.
Because that's when I spoke to Miguel. And Miguel then...
Right.
He gave the information to... I don't know if it was a firefighter or policeman. But I think it might have been a firefighter. Where he said, you know, my friends are on the 21st floor. And you know, he's got 2 daughters and a pregnant wife.
And how long do you think before your first 999 call did you hear that advice via Miguel's phone?
I don't think it was too long. Maybe 15, 20 minutes before I made a 999 call.
Right. Now you make a second 999 call at 2:46:58. And we can have this transcript up, please. It's LFB 672. And you can see the time from the numbers across the top. the second from the right of which say 024658. And I think this is the transcript that you hadn't seen when you did your first statement, but having seen it, you made your second statement. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Now, in your second statement, at paragraph 7, if I can just show you that, second statement, paragraph 7, you say that my family and I, along with Helen and her daughter, attempted to escape from our flat on 2 occasions in between my first and second calls to the emergency services. It appears from the time of my second 999 call at 2:46 a.m. that I made this call soon after our second failed attempt to escape. Now, the attempts to escape, you described the first one. Does that mean that there was a second group attempt between these 2 calls?
There was, yes.
Right. Was that after or before the video you took? Do you remember?
I think it would have been after the video.
Right. So we have attempt 1, first 999 call, video, attempt 2, second 999 call.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay. So I've got it roughly, at least in my head. And then you make the call. What was it that prompted this call?
Well, we couldn't get out.
Right.
And at that time, if I remember correctly, I could see bright light by the window. So I knew that the fire was high up.
Right. Now, going to the transcript, if you can, please, look at page 1. You say, this second line, I'm still waiting at flat 183 and the fire's already reached us. Okay, so where is the fire? Is it in your flat?
No.
The operator asks you, and you say, no, it's in the flat next door and it's already coming through the windows. So that's what you say. Which window in your flat could you see what you're describing there out of?
My bedroom window.
Your bedroom window?
My bedroom window,
Yeah, so the one opposite the hall door, the lobby door.
The entrance door.
The entrance door into the lobby, right.
Yeah.
And what could you see through that window at that time?
Just a bright light. Obviously, it's in the middle of the night, but there was this yellow and reddish flames.
Right.
Well, not flames, but a bright light.
A glow.
A glow, yeah.
A glow. Do you remember whether the glow was, when you look at the window, to your
left?
Well, which side? You just indicated to your left.
My left. So
your left.
It was coming from flat 182.
So the east.
Yeah.
At what level was the glow? Did you get a sense of whether it was below you, at your level, or above you?
I thought it was at my level.
Right. And then the operator says, halfway down page 1, okay, right, okay. In that case, if you feel it's not safe to be in the flat anymore, okay, you may have to leave the flat. And you say, there's no way we can leave the flat, there's too much smoke outside. And then she gives you the advice about wet blankets and going out. And then at the bottom you say, right, is them going to come and meet us on the stairs? And she responds, we've got firefighters who are making their way up, but it's very slow progress at the moment, okay? If you feel that fire, well, the fire's next door, we can't. The fire's next door, yeah. Then you need to go. Go to the nearest stairwell. It'll be dark out there, all right, but cover your faces. Wet towels, all right, and that'll stop you inhaling the smoke, okay. And then the call ends. Now, I've read that all to you because it's short, but from her responses, did you understand that the firefighters were still able to reach your floor?
Yes. Well, it was a slow process, but she said they were making their way up.
Right.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I've got 3 children with me. and a heavily pregnant wife, so I can't carry them all.
Now, you've seen the advice that you're given, going to the nearest stairwell with towels. Did you have a clear impression in your mind at that point what her advice was?
In terms of going to the stairwell?
Well, let me put it to you this way. When the call ends, what impression did you have in your mind about what you should do?
I thought that they were still coming up to get us.
Right.
And wait. And I thought at the time that she was telling me that wait as long as you can and then get out if you can't wait any longer.
Okay.
But I still had the assumption that they were coming.
Right. So when she says to you, you need to go to the nearest stairwell, how important did you think that advice was?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I probably didn't even pay attention to that, in all fairness.
Right.
I know where the stairwell is. There isn't, it's right there in front of me.
Right.
There's only one stairwell.
Let me ask you a different way. Did you get the impression from the advice you were being given that you had to leave at all costs, or did you still think there was a choice in the matter?
No, I still felt there was a choice in the matter, yes.
Now, after this call, did you try to leave?
No, I don't think so.
We then have a third call at 025538, and that's LFB 392. We can tell the time of that from, again, the second group of numbers. Just wait till it's up. There it is. The second group of numbers from the right, 025538. And this is about 9 minutes or so after the second call, which we've just looked at. First of all, what prompted that call? Do you remember?
I don't know. You'll need to show me the transcript first.
Okay. Page 2, Fire Brigade. Hello, I'm calling from 183. We can't get out. Hello, Fire Brigade. Hello, I'm calling from 183 Grenfell Tower. We can't get out. That's how the call starts. Do you remember what prompted the call?
I think we must have tried then. I might have the timings of when we tried to get out wrong, but or between the calls.
Okay.
But yes, I think that yeah, that would have been the second attempt, I believe.
Right. Okay.
I think my tone on that call would have changed, if I remember correctly, listening to the call. And that's because I was upset with Andrea at the time. Because that was, if memory serves me correctly, that was the time when Andrea stopped by the door. We managed to get out, or Helen managed to get out. Andrea was behind, but she stopped and started crying. And then we retreated back into the flat.
Okay. So, is it fair then to take from that the result of the second call was that although you thought you had a choice, as you told us, your choice was to try to make an exit?
Yes, I think, yes, that's right.
And then that fails for the reasons you've described. You come back into the flat and then make this call.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, okay.
And I had a go at Andrea saying you can't stop halfway. When we start, we need to go. You can't keep stopping. You know, that was the second attempt, and we stopped before stepping out of the door. But yeah.
Now, going to the transcript, you explain you've tried a number of times on that page. And then if you go to page 3 of the transcript, you tell her just below the top of the page that you've got a side to the flat where it's got fresh air, and you say, yeah. And in the middle of the page, you're asked again what your flat is, 21st floor, flat 183. 183, okay, I'll let the fireman know, okay, to come up to you. And you say, yeah, 3 kids, 3 adults, and 1 heavily pregnant wife. 3, so 6 of you, and a pregnant lady. Okay, I'll let them know. After the call was finished, what impression did you form of the advice you'd been given? What do you think it was?
Well, they're coming to get us.
Right. Did you think that you still had to get out of the flat at that point?
Well, I wanted to get out of the flat. That's why we attempted it in the first place. But at that point, we were still safe, or as safe as can be in the flat.
Right.
So I felt we had a bit of time to still wait, and especially if they're coming up.
And then you make a 4th call at 0309:52. And Mr. Chairman, we've been going for almost an hour, but I think if I can cover this call, which will be about 5 minutes or so, maybe it'll be an appropriate.
You're okay to do another 5 minutes
take a
or so?
short break.
Yes, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you make this call. It's LFB 412. And we can see the time again, second group of numbers from the right, 030952. And it starts on page 2, floor 21, fire brigade, floor 21, you're on floor 21, are you still in your flat? Yes, we can't get out. Do you remember what prompted that call? This is at 3:09. Your third one was at 2:55. And so this is 14 minutes or so later.
I don't know.
Did you try to make another attempt to escape between the 3rd call and this 4th call? Do you remember, or not?
Not in my mind, but maybe.
And you're asked towards the bottom of the page, any fire in your flat? And you say, not at the moment, but there is next door. Okay, right, there is next door. Now, just pausing there, what could you see which led you to tell her that there was fire in the flat next door?
I was referring to the glow that was there.
Had there been any change in that glow between the call when you...
Well, it got stronger, but that's all I can see.
Okay. And then she says at the foot of page 2, okay, well, listen, the advice we're giving now, you need to, over the page, leave, and you need to make your way, I can't, down the stairwell. We can't leave, there's too much smoke. And you go on to tell her that the smoke's coming in and it's overpowering. And at the bottom of page 3, she says, and you asks, you literally can't walk out into it? No, okay. And then she says at the bottom of page 4, after establishing your floor, 21st floor, she says, I can let the crews know that you're not leaving the flat. You say, yeah, but our advice is to try and leave and make your way. And you say, we've tried, down the stairs. Okay, and what we've tried, you say. Well, is it you just can't breathe as soon as you open the door? And you say, as soon as you open the door, black smoke just comes in and you can't breathe. You just can't breathe. And then she says, at the top of the next page, page 6, I mean, the situation at the moment is there's going to be some time before they get to you. And the best advice we can give you is to make another attempt to leave if you can and get into the stairwell and down. And then she repeats that advice at the bottom of the page, page 6. Having told, sorry, I should pick this up actually, 2/3 of the way down. She says, the people are going up and down. We are sending people down the stairs from the floors above you, so people are making their way out of the building. And then she goes on to say in the next part, it's your decision. Obviously, I can't make you do anything, but our advice to you is to try and do that. Okay. Now, just at that point in the conversation, did you think, or did it seem to you that actually you not only should get out, but might be able to, because the stairway was being used by other people to escape?
I don't remember that conversation, to be honest.
Right.
So I can't recall what I thought at that moment.
Okay, all right. Now then, I'll just try a couple more paragraphs with you, or passages with you. And she says on page 7 of the transcript at the top that should let the crews know that you're still in the flat. And towards the bottom, she says, 3/4 of the way down, she says, they are doing everything they can to get to you, but it's going to be some time. And then she says, it's your decision. And at the bottom of page 8, she says, it's just the situation. We're trying with everything we've got. We've got hundreds of firefighters there trying to get to you, but it's just the situation. And over the top of page 9, it's the advice we're giving at the moment. We're going to tell the crews that you're still there in the flat, and we'll make it a priority to get to you. And then she says, if you can give it just one more try to get out, that's the best advice we're giving. Do you remember anything of this call?
I remember them telling us we were going to be a priority.
Okay. And what did that mean to you?
It means somebody's coming up to get you.
Right. And did that influence your decision as to whether you should now do anything you could to escape, or to stay?
No, it made me stay longer because I thought they were coming up. So
right.
I felt that we had still a little bit more time to wait for them.
Right. We can clearly see her in this call telling you that their best advice is for you to escape. What part did that play in your decision making?
Well, we tried before, so I'd prefer being outside the building than being inside the building, quite clearly. But
right.
If we try and we can't make it
right.
to the stairwell door, then it's quite difficult to get out at that time.
If you'd been told that the crews weren't able to access the 21st floor at that stage, what would you have done?
I'd have been much more forceful with everybody. At that time, I still thought we had hope of being rescued, and having a heavily pregnant wife and 3 kids. I didn't know where to direct them. It was the unknown at that moment. I knew my flat was still safe, as we can breathe and there was no fire in it. I didn't know what the stairwell was like, or what we were getting into. So it's very difficult to then try and take a family of 7 through the unknown, and not knowing what you're going to go through.
Yeah. Yes. Now, after this call, and you may not have a clear recollection of it, do you remember where you were all waiting in the flat?
Yes, roughly, I guess.
Where?
So the majority of my time was in the corridor. I was keeping an eye on the smoke coming through the door, and because I was still waiting for the firefighters to come banging on the door, I wanted to make sure that I opened that door straight away. The girls, well, everybody else was in the kitchen, sort of sitting room area, because that was the area where I had the clearest air.
Now, Mr. Gomes,
I wonder whether we should have a break.
Yes, I was just about to suggest that.
Do you want to ask another question?
No, there was
to finish the.
Yes, there were two more questions before we actually get to that last call, but they are based on the timing of that call. I'm not going to ask for the transcript to go up at the moment, but the call is at 03:25:45 a.m., which is the last call you make, and it's the long call we're going to be examining after the break. My questions are, before you made that call, what were the conditions like in the flat?
It was smoky, it was getting worse. I had the girls at that time sitting on the floor in the sitting room, because the smoke had already reached a certain level that you can be standing comfortably.
Where was the smoke coming from?
As far as I'm aware, still the main door.
Anywhere else?
Probably through the windows, but I didn't spend enough time at the windows to...
Okay. So you say you couldn't stand, so that means the smoke would have come down to roughly an adult's head height. Is that right?
My head height, yeah.
On that note, Mr. Chairman,
It's
good
good
to
to
end.
earn the break, Mr. Gomez.
Yeah, but can I just say that obviously being told, I'd preferred being told that nobody, I've now obviously recognised that the firefighters couldn't make it above a certain floor. And if they would have told me that nobody's coming, then obviously that would have changed my decision or my approach,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Now, yeah,
All right, thank you. Well, we will have a break now. So we'll come back at 12:20. And don't talk to anyone about your evidence during the break, please. So if you go with the usher.
Mr. Chairman, before we do,
Yeah.
I'm happy that the witness should leave with the ushers, but before I do, I need to give a very clear warning about what is coming next.
Well, should we allow Mr. Gomez
Yes,
to
let's do that.
go? Off you go, Mr. Gomez. You go with the usher. Now, Mr. Millett, you might think it's sensible to give this warning when we come back, in case anyone who's not in the room at the moment is here and would not have heard it if you give it now.
I'm going to give it both sides of the
All
break.
right. Yes.
I think
Why
because
not?
people can, if they don't want to come back, can stay out, and those who haven't heard it when
It's
they
even
come in
better, I
can.
do agree. Go on then.
What I'm going to do next is to put into the record the transcript, the full transcript of Mr. Gomez's fifth call to the 999. It lasts 33 minutes. I will be not only showing it on the screen, but also playing large parts of the audio. The reason for playing it is so as to enable us to ask particular questions of him, which do not immediately appear evident on the transcript. In parts, it is an extremely distressing thing to listen to. So those who don't think they are able to listen to it, and it is distressing in parts, should take the opportunity not to listen to it, or to come back into the room, or to observe the live stream. Once the questions are finished, then those who have left the room or got away from the live stream will be invited to come back and join us. I'll repeat that when we come back.
Yes, thank you very much. Right, 12:20, please. Right, would you like to ask Mr. Gomes to come back in, please? Thank you. Right, Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Ready to carry on? Ms. Millett, do you want to say something
Yes,
before
I
you
do.
start?
Mr. Gomes, thank you for coming back to us. I'm going to repeat, perhaps not verbatim, what I said just before we broke, which is that I'm about to show you your last telephone call at 3:25 or so, and play the audio, or much of it, to you at the same time as showing you the transcript. The reason for my doing so is to enable us to ask you further questions about it. It's distressing, very distressing in parts, and I should just repeat for everybody's benefit that if there are people in the room or watching on live stream who may find this distressing, then the best advice we can give is for them to either to leave this room or if they're watching remotely, just to turn their live stream off or look away. The call itself lasts 33 minutes, but since we're going to be playing much of the call, the questions and the process will take a little bit longer. Mr. Chairman, it may be necessary for us to take a slightly longer morning before the lunch break, because I think it is essential, if we can do it, that we take this in one go.
Well, I think we should make every effort to do so.
Very good.
Does anybody wish to leave at this point? Well, not from this room, Mr. Millett, and I assume that those who've heard it elsewhere will have taken any appropriate action.
Yes, and I just want to make it clear to the witness and for everybody else watching that the call is a call which is the audio record of your journey from your flat on the 21st floor, across the lobby and down the stairs to the ground floor. And the reason I want to play the call is because the inquiry wants to get a sense of the physical conditions at various points in that part of the building over this period. I'm going to start by asking...
Before you do, can I just say, Mr. Gomes, I think you may find this quite difficult at times, and if you do, just make it clear that you want a short break. We will be guided by you.
I will do.
Take your time over things. All right?
Thank you.
All right.
Now, what I'm going to do is ask for the transcript to come up onto the screen. It's LFB 427. And I'm going to ask the documents director to turn through the pages as we go through the call, stopping where we need to. And if we can then start the audio of the call with page 2 of the transcript and the audio of the call, please.
Private James, hello.
Hello, we're phoning from Grenfell Tower again.
Yeah, okay, what flat are you in?
183.
183.
We tried to get out.
What
We
floor
tried
are
to
you
get out
on?
again, but we can't.
What
Floor 21.
Floor 21. Right, how many people in now?
6 people, 3 kids, 3 adults.
3 adults and 3 children. How old are the children?
10, 11 and 12.
Children, 10, 11 and 12.
Yeah, and my wife is... No, we can't get out. We tried a second time.
Is your wife pregnant as well?
She's pregnant, yeah, and she's asthmatic.
Pregnant and asthmatic.
Yeah, she can't deal with the smoke.
Right, okay, yeah. There's no way you can get out, floor 21.
There's no way. We've tried 3 times already.
They've tried 3 times. They've tried 3 times, yeah, to get out.
There's no way we can get out.
Right, okay, what I'm doing is I know you've phoned a few times, so I think I've spoken to you before.
Yeah.
Our command unit is down there, and we're going to put you try and get you as a priority, okay? Because you've got to try to get out 3 times.
We've tried to get out 3 times, and we can't get out, and the smoke is in the house now.
Just can't get out, and plus also you've got the children.
Yes.
They've tried 3 times to get out.
Shit, the fire's here.
Right, is the fire engine now?
The fire's here. The fire is in the house.
The fire's in the house now. Right.
Stop now. Just pausing there, Mr. Gomes. First of all, did you hear or get the impression that the control room operator was talking to somebody else in the control room at the same time as you?
I think she was, yeah.
Okay. Now, you say, oh shit, the fire's here, and then go on, the fire's here, the fire is in the house. What were you seeing at that point?
The fire. at that moment in time was coming through my bedroom window.
Let's take this a bit slowly now. Did you have a good view of the fire coming through your bedroom window?
Yes.
Where was it coming through?
I just finished closing that window because of the smoke, and because I could see that there was the glow. It was the same window that I was referring to about the glow coming from my neighbour's flat, and I can see that it was just getting a lot brighter, and I thought I'm going to close it because I've got curtains on that window. So I closed it and walked back to the corridor. So at that precise moment in time, I was standing between, or just in front of my bedroom door, looking at the window. And I remember looking at it and thinking, I've just closed that window. How's the fire in my bedroom? And it wasn't through the window, because the window was still locked, shut. The glass hadn't cracked. It was still intact. But where it was burning, it was around the frame of the window.
Right. I know you may not remember precisely, but do you recall where around the frame the fire was coming in?
It was all around it, but more so towards the bottom, just underneath the frame.
And did you notice any heat change in the flat at that point?
No.
Right.
It was already hot, so I didn't really notice the change.
The last time you looked at that window before you left the flat, how far into the flat was the fire?
It started burning my the curtains, which was around the window. The Moses basket.
So is it the first time you saw the fire coming in through that window was while you were on this call at this point?
Yes, correct. And then it's caught light at the top, in the ceiling, and then it was just coming towards me. At that point.
At that point, could you see what was burning around the window?
It was the curtains, the Moses basket, which is just before my bed, and then some items that we had around, ornaments and that kind of stuff. But then the ceiling was what stood out quite a lot for me, because it just was spreading through the ceiling rapidly.
Did you notice anything on the ceiling near the window on fire, in particular?
That whole bit of the ceiling was on fire. It was quick. It was spreading quicker in the ceiling than it was through my furniture.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Can we continue with the call? We'll continue with the call.
Right, so if the fire is in the house, get out of the house. Don't stay in the house. Hello?
Fire's in the house.
Right.
You have to get out.
Listen,
You
if
have
the
to
fire's
get
in the
out.
house, you've got to get some wet towels around you and some wet
Yes.
clothing.
Get the wet towels.
Right.
Get the wet towels.
If it's
When you're saying get the wet towels, who are you talking to?
All of them.
Right. All of them, what, the family?
The family, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
dirty inside.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I started a bit too quickly. Did you want to...
I was getting the wet towel and throwing it over them, so as in get the wet towels, make sure you've got
Right.
one, basically.
Okay. We'll continue.
You need to get your family outside.
Yes. We're doing it now.
Okay,
Get the
good.
towels.
Keep phone with you and I'm going to stay on the line, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all hold hands, okay, and get as much wet clothes on you as possible.
All
Take
hold
some
hands,
clothes-
girls. Hold hands, girls.
Take some-
Everybody hold hands.
Right,
Take
put
your towels.
some wet clothes or wet... and put it against your mouth. Put some over
Yeah,
your
yeah.
mouth. The wet.
Yeah, we've got it. Everybody's got it?
Right, you all together?
Yeah, we have to go. We have to go. The fire's in the
You've
house.
got to
Pausing
go.
there. Just pausing there. We just heard a moment or two ago some coughing. I think it was you coughing. Was that because of the smoke inside the flat, or had you opened the door at that stage?
I think we'd opened the door at that stage already.
Okay.
And you heard me gag there as well.
I did. That
When I was trying to speak and then just
Right.
gagged.
Yes. Okay. We'll
Yeah.
continue.
There's no stopping now, girls. We've just got to go.
Right, you've just got to go. Stay with me on the phone, okay?
Right, hold hands. Hold hands and go.
Right.
Right, let's go, girls.
Right, Debbie. Deb.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to go. We have to go. Go. Go, 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 go.
You've got to go.
Hold hands, go straight. Hold
Let's
hands,
stay
go straight
together.
to the stairs. Straight to the stairs now.
Debbie.
Go.
Deb.
Right, just pausing there, where you say, get to the stairs now, go. At that point, where were you? You remember?
Yeah, I think taking a step back, I don't think we were out when earlier. I think that we probably opened the door because Helen was at the front, and I think it was the intake of the smoke coming in because it doesn't make sense in my head what I've just listened to. I think when I said go, go, go means that's the point we're going through the door.
We're going through the door?
Yes,
at
through
that point?
my front door.
Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. Go, go.
They're on the corridor now. They're trying to get to the stairs. All
Go,
holding
go, go,
hands.
go.
Yeah, I'm still on the phone to him. Yeah, told him. Yeah, they know. Right, hello? Yeah, does Simon know? I know you don't talk to me. Just listen to me. Does Simon know that you're on that floor now, okay? Keep going.
Keep going.
Now, you can hear yourself saying, keep going, and we just ended with a cough and some other sound. Where were you at this point, do you think?
I think we've probably just gone through the stairwell door.
The stairwell door, you think?
Yes, I think so.
So how long do you think it took you to cross the lobby?
Oh, it doesn't take long at all. 5 steps.
Right.
It's not a huge distance.
And who was leading at this stage?
Helen.
And did you cross the lobby at normal walking speed, or did you have to feel your way and walk slowly?
Not normal walking speed, but hurried speed.
Right.
But I didn't have to feel my way, no, because I knew where it was, and because where they built the new riser cupboards, they took away hallway space. There was a wall, so I knew if you go diagonally, you're going to hit that wall first. If you don't hit the door, you're going to hit that wall, and then you're going to hit the door. So I was confident that they would just hit it.
Right.
And go straight through. So we hurried, but we weren't running, or at least I don't think we were running because I told them not to run, because the stairwell, you wouldn't be able to see anything, and I didn't want anybody to break an ankle or fall or anything like that. So I told them to go as quickly as possible. This is obviously before when we had the initial discussions, right. To go at speed but not running.
In terms of the procession, the order, you had Helen at the front.
Yes.
And then Andrea behind her?
And then it would have been Andrea and
then the girls.
my youngest. And then Helen's daughter and my daughter behind them, and me last.
And we were all holding hands across the lobby, so you knew where each other was?
Initially, but that soon stopped.
Okay. Were you all holding hands at the point you got to the... Sorry, let me just ask it this way. When you got to the stairwell door, were you still holding a hand?
No.
Okay.
No, because I don't know why, but for some reason I went for my keys, which was in a bowl there. But my thinking was, if we had to try and come back, which obviously I know that it was never going to happen, but I sort of stopped myself and was reaching for the keys. I didn't grab it, I just tipped the bowl, so I wasted a few seconds there, and I didn't grab it, and I just went. So at that moment I wasn't holding anyone.
Now at the end of that section we've just played, we heard a coughing. I'm not going to play it again, not only for technical reasons, and it sounded like a retching. Was that you?
I'm sure it would have been me, yes.
Right. And then, well, let's continue.
Keep going. Put him on the phone.
Keep going, this body.
Don't talk to me. Just hold hands, okay? Don't talk to me.
Keep
I'm
going,
just going to stay on the phone.
Keep going, okay.
Okay.
Are you on the stairs at this point?
Yes, I believe so.
Right.
You just all stay together. And keep the children. Make sure you keep hold of the children as well.
Keep going.
Don't talk to me. Just talk to them.
Keep going, girls. Keep going.
Just listen to what I'm saying. Don't talk to me. Just talk to the children.
Keep going, girls.
Okay? And the firemen are on their way up to you. Okay?
Keep going, they're all the way up.
At that point, you're in the stairs, I think, because we've got into the stairs. Could you see the others, the rest of the family?
No, you couldn't see anything.
Did you have a sense of how far ahead of you they were?
I had no idea. I assumed they were just right in front, but I couldn't tell you.
Right. Now, at this point, you're in the stairwell. Did you get a sense of the smoke density and conditions in the stairs as compared with the lobby that you've just come through?
It was probably worse, but not by much.
In the stairs?
In the stairs, yeah.
Right. Did you get a sense of the temperature?
No, it was hot.
It was hot. Was it hotter than the lobby in the stairs?
I think there was a slight change, but not a huge change.
How hot? Well, compare it. We've been using comparators like an English summer's day, or a summer's day, or a sauna. The sauna is the most recent comparative. Try that. Was it hotter or the same as or cooler than a sauna?
It was like a sauna.
Like a sauna.
It was closer to a sauna than anything else.
Okay, continue. Well, we'll just
Run your way
continue.
up. You all right? Don't talk to me. Just keep hold of the girls. Okay, and your wife.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Did the fact that the operator was telling you that the firemen are on their way up to you encourage you in any way?
Yeah, to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll continue.
Going.
They're going along the corridor. It's got the three.
Keep going.
His wife's pregnant and asthmatic.
Keep going, girls.
Right, just talk to your girls. Is your wife okay?
Keep going. Keep going. Come on.
All right. All right, just stay.
Keep going.
Keep going. All right, keep going. Don't talk to me. I'm staying with you. I'm not going
Keep
anywhere.
going.
All right?
Keep going.
Just at that point, you've been saying, keep going, keep going. How was your breathing at that stage?
Difficult.
You were able to shout, keep going, keep going. What does that tell us about how you were able to take air into your lungs and then expel them with force to shout?
Well, you can hear it, after I shout, keep going, it's difficult to then breathe again. But yeah, to try. I did have the cloth and towel in front as much as I could.
Right.
But obviously, to speak, I had to move it out of my face.
Did you get into your lungs unmediated smoke? In other words, smoke that had not come through the towel but was...
Yeah.
What does
quite
that
a
feel
lot.
like at this stage?
Horrible. It was just as if it was filled with something but not air.
Right.
And it just felt like my lungs were just that tight. It was just very difficult to breathe.
Right. Did you feel any other physical sensation from the smoke at this point?
My eyes were stinging. The back of my throat was dry and stinging. And it was just hot smoke that you were sort of inhaling.
Mm.
So it was almost like it was burning the back of my throat.
Right. We'll continue.
Keep it all together. Well done. You're doing really, really well. You're doing really, really well. I tell you,
Keep going, girls.
top bloke. Just keep going, mate. You're top bloke. Keep going. This is really important. Just keep going. All right, you're top bloke. Don't speak to me. All right, I'm just going to guide you down there. The firemen are on their way up to get you.
No, keep going.
Okay?
Keep going, girls.
Well done, mate. Keep going.
Girls,
Okay, we've got you down as a priority, okay, and they are on their way up.
of course.
Don't talk to me.
Just stop there. Now, we've heard a little bit more. During this discussion, you're shouting, and you say, I can't something. Could you describe the air, your ability to take in air at this point?
It was very difficult at that point, and I think that's what I was referring to.
Right.
As I can't breathe, and because I was trying to shout and breathe at the same time, and it just wasn't quite working.
I don't want to put an idea into your head, but it sounds as if your throat has involuntarily closing when you try to draw air in at this stage? Is that...
There's a lot of gagging,
right.
which I don't think is quite clear on the call, but there was a lot of gagging reflexes happening as well.
Okay. And during this period of this call, are you on the move constantly?
Yes.
Right. And how fast do you think you're moving down?
Well, I'm trying to concentrate on giving them encouragement to keep going and keeping myself tight to the rail. Maybe a steady pace, but not walk, a little bit faster than walking, but not at jogging speed.
Was your phone in your left hand?
Right.
Phone in your right hand. Were you using your left hand for anything?
Yes, to hold the towel and the rail. I was sort of doing. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but because I had the phone here, I was using my elbow on the rail.
I see.
To follow it down, and when I had to move things out of the way, then I'd use my left hand to grab the rail and swing me around, because the rail's in the middle.
So, because the rail's on your right as you descend.
It's on my right, yes.
So phone in the right hand, elbow being on your right side, right elbow being used to navigate by touching the stairwell.
Yes,
and the towel on the left.
Yes, because I was trying to keep as low as possible, because there were steps, and I wanted to make sure that we weren't missing the steps as we were going down.
And then let's continue on the way down.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Have you got to the stairs yet? Just say yes or
Keep
no.
going. Keep going.
Have you got to the stairs?
Just pause there. Right, that's coughing we can hear. Is there anything else we can hear there?
Just coughing, I think.
Right.
On that one, yeah.
All right, let's continue.
Just take some deep
Sorry,
breaths.
I think I may have stopped it.
Keep going, bro.
That last point, there was another noise. What was that?
I think that was the gagging mixed with coughing.
Okay. Now, at this stage, and again, it's difficult to be exact, how many flights do you think you've gone down?
I've got no idea. Anything I say would be a guess.
Right, okay. Did you get a sense that the smoke was getting lighter or thicker, or was it staying the same?
It was the same. Yeah, it was the same.
Okay. And how far ahead, well, where did you think the girls were at this stage?
I was hoping they would be just in front, not too far away.
Right. Could you hear them?
No, there was no. I was getting no responses at that moment.
Right.
But I didn't want to hear a response. I wanted them just to keep going. I didn't want them to stop.
Yeah. Let's go. We'll continue.
Keep going, Joe.
Listen to what I'm saying to you. Just take
Keep going.
okay? Stop talking for a minute and just take a deep breath because you're coughing. Okay? You're coughing
Keep going,
and
Joe.
you're
Keep going. Keep going.
Alright.
Joe.
Are they on their way up to him?
Keep going, Joe.
Three,
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Are you on the stairwell yet? Just take...
Just pausing there, we could hear in the background some higher pitched voices. Do you know what that is?
I don't recall.
Right. And it does sound as if you're able to, or you're panting during that, and able to aspirate reasonably freely. Is that right or not?
Well, I was trying to breathe as much as I could.
Right.
It was still very difficult.
Right. It sounds as if you were able to breathe in and breathe out quite freely at that point.
Well, all the way through, I was able to breathe in and out, but it was just the intake of the smoke was the case. It wasn't clearer.
Yeah, I see.
It wasn't easier to breathe. It was just you had to try. I think at that point I actually sat down at the bottom of the step.
Okay.
There was a slight pause that I just heard there, and I remember just sitting down and then thinking, "You got to keep going." And then I got back up and went.
Okay. Let's continue. We'll continue.
To me, yes or no, please.
Right down.
Have you got
You got it.
well?
Girls. You got it. You got it, girls.
Hello?
Yeah.
Right.
You got it.
Can you just ask me yes or no? Have you
Yeah.
got the stairwell?
Girls.
Just pause there. We'll just pause there. We could hear a whistling in the background there. Is that something you heard, or is that something that you didn't hear?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, let's continue.
You got it, girls. You got it, girls. You got it. You got it.
They're still keep going. He's just more interested.
You got it.
He's trying to keep his girls calm. He can hardly breathe.
You got it, girls. You got it.
He's coughing and spluttering. Are they near him?
You got it, girls. You got it.
Yeah, you're doing really, really well. Be proud.
Okay, we just heard some noises from you. What were those? I think
Coughs and gagging and
gagging. Right.
yeah, it's
Right.
that kind of motion.
Okay. Keep going.
Of yourself, okay? I'll tell
You
you.
got it.
And that, you're doing ever so well. Don't
Keep
talk
on
to
it.
me. Just
Keep
keep
on it.
guiding your children, all right, and your wife. Keep guiding, and the
Keep
firemen
on
are
it,
going
girls.
up the stairs towards you. They know that you're there, and we're treating you as your priority,
You
okay?
got it.
Just pause there. Could you hear what the operator was saying to you?
I've got no idea at that moment what she was saying.
Right. Let's carry on.
Don't forget to take a few deep breaths, because you've got to be strong, okay?
Girls,
You've
come
got to
on.
be strong.
Come on.
Don't give up
You
now.
got it. Come on.
Don't give up.
Come on. Where's the fire brigade? Jesus.
They should be there.
Come on,
You're
girls.
struggling to breathe. We've got them.
Pause there. So we've heard quite a lot at this point. Your breathing, the gagging and the coughing. Had it changed at all, or had it got worse in any way at this point?
It didn't get worse. It was just the same all the way
Right.
through.
Okay. Okay. And how long do you think you've been in the stairwell at this point for?
In terms of time,
Yes.
maybe 8 minutes or so.
Right.
I think I was probably getting to about halfway
Okay.
at that point. But I've got nothing to base it on.
Okay. Now, I think we'll skip the next part and pick it up at 8:40, if we can.
Come on. Come on.
Where's the firemen? Are they there?
Girls.
They're in the stairwell. They're
This
in
is
the
page
stairwell.
13.
Girls, come
Page
on.
13. Stop there.
Yeah.
Come on.
The girls are still there.
Come on, girls.
The firemen you should be able to see him very shortly.
Girls, come on. Follow my voice.
Yeah, look, just stop talking to me. Just calm yourself down.
Right, now, you heard that last thing. Girls, come on, follow my voice, which is pretty loud. Were you able to shout and get enough oxygen into your lungs at this point to be able to shout? Easily?
It was the same. It wasn't easy.
Okay.
No.
Because we're about 8 minutes into the call here, 8.5 minutes into the call.
Okay.
Do you remember at that stage roughly how far down you'd gone, or is it possible?
I think that was
Impossible to know. Take a moment. There's no rush.
that would have been the time I realized my daughter was behind me.
Right. And what made you realize that?
She said, I can't, Dad.
How close to her were you when she said that, do you think?
Sorry.
We could take a pause. Let's take a pause.
So I didn't hear the last question, sorry.
Yeah, I'll repeat it. How close to her physically were you when you heard her say that, do you think?
I think she was about maybe a floor above me.
Above you.
I think.
Okay.
I still couldn't see anything. It's pitch black.
Okay. And do you, what is it about what you're saying here, follow my voice, that makes you think you're in front by this stage?
Because I'm saying follow my voice. That means they're behind me. And I've listened to this call and I know what follows as well, so yeah.
If it's okay, we'll continue.
Yes.
Okay, let's continue. We'll hear a little bit more.
And take some deep breaths, okay? Strong, you've got
Girls,
time
come on.
to gain a bit of energy.
Keep coming.
Alright?
Keep going.
Take a few deep breaths for a minute.
Come on, girls, keep going.
Pause
Keep
there.
going.
Did you take a few deep breaths? Were you able to take a few deep breaths?
Is that what she asked me to do? I don't think I've even listened to what she was saying.
Okay. Just keep going. Sorry.
Keep holding your L's.
You're going down, aren't you?
No,
You're not
keep going.
going up.
Keep coming.
Doing this
Come on.
stairwell, going down.
Girls, come on. Keep coming.
10th floor. But they're waiting to see this one. I don't know where his wife is.
Keep coming. Keep pushing. Keep pushing.
Go on, keep
Girls,
going,
come
mate. You're
on.
doing really, really well. You're doing ever so well.
Girls, that's it.
Okay,
Keep coming.
stay
Come on.
strong. Stay strong.
Pause. So at this point, you've realised they're behind. Are you continuing to go down?
No.
You're standing, are you?
I stopped for a bit and told them to follow my voice.
Right.
And then I started making my way up.
You were on the way up at this point, were
Yes.
you? Right. And when you shout, keep coming, keep coming, keep going, keep coming, come on, keep coming, you're on your way up to meet them, are you?
Yes.
I follow. Okay, continue.
And take some deep breaths.
A bit more, girls. Come on.
Keep going.
Come on. Girls. Girls. Come on.
Right. Could you see them at that point?
I couldn't see nothing.
Could you hear them?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was exactly that point, but I heard my daughter.
Sorry. How fast were you going back up, do you think?
I was holding the rail and taking a few steps. I didn't know where they were or if I was going to go past them or not, because at some point she stopped talking.
Okay, let's continue.
Come on.
You're doing so great. So brave.
Girls, come on. It's better down here. It's better down here. Come
There's
on.
more air.
Stop.
Keep on.
Okay, now we've heard again another burp. Sounds like a gag. But we also hear some screaming in there. Or sounds like screaming. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't recall that.
Did you get any impression at this point of how far they were from you, above you?
I went about one flight of stairs up. I thought they were just above me, was my impression when I lost contact with them.
Okay. Let's continue.
Following the rail. Keep following the girls.
They got the rail.
Keep coming.
You're doing so well. So well. So well.
Stop there.
Yep.
You could hear some sounds in that from you, I think. Is that gagging again, or is that belching?
It's both
Right.
gagging, belching, and coughing, I think.
Right. Now, I should have asked you when you said just a little bit above the page in the transcript, come on, girls, come on, it's better down here. Was it a better air below, or were you just saying that to encourage them?
It was the same.
It was the same.
I just wanted to
Okay. Now,
try and keep them going.
absolutely. Okay, continue.
Out. Come. Girls, keep following the rail. Come on, push. Push through.
He's got 3 kids and his wife. Are they?
3 kids and a heavily pregnant wife. And I've
His
lost
wife's
track.
really pregnant. He's lost her.
Girls, come on.
They,
Keep walking down. Keep walking down, girls. Girls, keep walking down.
okay.
Now, at that point, we just heard an echo. I think maybe for the first time in this call, there's an echoing sound. Do you remember the sound of your voice changing in the stairwell at any point?
No, I don't.
Okay. Keep going.
Girls!
Do you know?
Oh, shite.
Have you got
Girls,
down?
come on, follow my voice. Come on. Luana, Lulia, come on. Keep going, keep going.
Keep going. What?
It's better down here.
Is there more air down now?
There's nobody here still. Come on.
Oh.
Come on, girls.
Now, number of things. First of all, when you say again, it's better down here, is that again?
Encouragement.
Encouragement. Were you moving at this point, or were you standing waiting for them to come down? Having gone up a
I was
little
trying
bit?
to make my way up.
You were still working your way up, right? And we can hear you panting and breathing. Were you breathing reasonably freely at this point, or was this through the cloth?
No, it
towel.
would have been through the cloth, I'm sure. It wasn't freely, and obviously going up
Right.
wastes more energy, and you have to breathe deeper.
Right.
So I think I was just struggling to get up quick enough.
Okay. So, coming to the end of this part here, would this be fair that actually you identified no change in the breathability of the air at any point in the stairs?
Further down was better, but
No.
not at that point.
Not at this point? No.
Not at that
Okay. Right, we can, I think, pick it up then at 11:40.
Girls. Girls, listen to my voice. Come on.
Right, I've just
Even if you have to crawl down. Crawl
I
down.
told them it's a priority again, okay?
Hold to the rails. Hold the rails, girls. Hold the rails. Keep coming, Lorna.
Come down from the
Megan, Lorna, come on.
I'm just pausing there. Could you see them to be able to tell them to hold the rails, or was this just
Still
more
couldn't see
instruction?
I had no clue where they were, and still couldn't see.
Okay. And we can hear in the background some voices or not calling noises. Did you know what that was?
I think that might have been them.
Okay. Did you hear them at the time? Do you think? Did you hear them at the time? Do you think? Do you remember being able to hear them at the time?
Yes, I remember there was some noises being made, which is why I knew they were still making their way down.
Okay. Right. We'll continue.
Come down from the 10th floor.
Keep coming.
Sorry, Mr. Millett, just, I think it would be helpful to everyone if you could get the transcript up before we start playing the audio, because sometimes we're not actually going to follow
All right,
it.
it's gone off. You're right. Okay. If we can have page 17, please. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I will do that. Thank you. Okay. So let's start. Let's continue.
Don't stop. Go.
Down from the 10th floor. He's got his girls.
Keep coming, girls. Keep coming.
Wife cosmetics and 7 months pregnant. They're coming down.
Girls. Come on, girls.
But this
Girls.
wife.
Girls.
Stop there. You had a long note of voice at that point. Again, can you help us with what that is?
I don't know.
Right.
It might have been somebody in the stairwell. I don't know.
Okay, let's continue.
Come on.
Sorry.
I think
Sorry, it's perfectly understandable that Mr. Gomez should not be able to help in detail with some of this material. So,
Yeah, it's becoming apparent, so we may move on a little bit.
well, maybe, yeah.
Now, just continue a moment.
Girls, keep coming. Keep following my voice. Keep coming. Come on.
Are you girls still with you?
Push, girls. They're right behind me, but they're not moving.
Right, okay.
Now, when you said they're right behind me, but they're not moving, why did you say that?
I stopped hearing them, I think, at that moment.
Okay. What sense did you get about how far behind you they were?
I thought they were right behind me, maybe like a half a floor.
Right.
Maybe a floor.
Okay. Now, if we can just pick this up at about 13:50, this is. I'd like to pick it up, if we can, at page 19 in the transcript, first of all. Where you say, girls come on, push girls, girls. About 13:45.
Girls! Oh, fuck. Girls! No!
Where you are at the moment, is there as much
I
smoke?
got my daughters upstairs.
Keep going. Keep going.
The one I mentioned. My daughter's upstairs. 183, but they're on the stairs.
183.
Just pausing there. Who were you talking to?
Firefighter.
Right. At this point, where were you, do you think?
I think maybe 8th, 7th. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that was the time where I went up about a flight of stairs. I couldn't see anything, and as you can see, I was struggling to breathe as well. So I looked down, and I saw a light coming up through the stair, the rails, and so I ran down, and it was a firefighter.
Right. Just taking this in a little bit more slowly. How long before you say what we see and hear you say here, did you first see the firefighters?
So which bit?
Well, I just played you. You just said my daughter's is upstairs, 183, but they're on the stairs.
Yeah.
You're obviously talking to a firefighter,
Yes.
as you said. How long before you said those things do you think you saw the firefighter?
Well, he was on the floor below, so it wouldn't have been long. I don't think I would have taken that long to get to
Okay.
him.
Now, at this point, you'd come down again, so you'd stopped going up.
Yes.
And then you started to come down.
Yes.
How long before this point do you think you had been coming down?
It wasn't, sorry, in total, or to see the firefighter?
No, since you went up a little bit,
Yeah.
after that point, how long do you think it took before you
It was only
saw the firefighter?
It was only one floor.
Just one floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
So two sets of stairs.
Was this the first time that you'd seen a firefighter?
It was the first time I saw anybody in the stairwell.
Okay.
Can I just ask you, you look as though you're responding to a question because you say 183, my daughters are upstairs and so on. So did the firefighter say something to you as far as you recall?
Yes. He asked me the questions. But I can't remember
No. All right.
exactly what. I think he asked me where you're coming from and that kind of information.
No, you say he was on the floor below.
Below.
Could you see him or just hear him?
At that moment in time, I could see him, but he had the light in front of his face, and that's what I saw when I looked down.
Okay.
I saw a bit of the light, and then also when I got close, I can see him.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I just ask you then to go back a page in the transcript to page 18? And we don't need to play this, but we can, because we can read it off the transcript. Halfway down the page, you say, "We're about halfway through, I think." Are you telling the operator that at this point?
Yeah, I must be. Did she ask me that?
She
What
does.
floor do you think you're on?
Yes,
Yeah.
just a little
So
bit above that.
I think I'm responding.
Right.
to her.
And why did you think you were about halfway through? How did you think? How did you come to that?
It was just the timings and the amount of spins
Right.
I've had to do. It was a guess, but
Okay. So let's just pick this up then where we were on page 19, after the question and answer. My daughter's on the stairs and on the stairs. Well, let's pick it up with 183. Who are you talking to?
Girls, tell her my voice, girls. Keep coming down. Girls, keep coming down, girls. For fuck's sake. Girls. Oh, fuck, my wife.
Yeah,
My wife.
we know. We know that you're there and they're coming up towards you. You're a priority at the moment, and I've told the crew manager here, and he's aware of the situation. Okay, so they are coming to get you.
Okay, thank you.
They are coming to get you. Okay, and
Right, I've just paused it there for two reasons. First of all, we can clearly hear you shouting. Does that tell us anything about how easily, at this point, you were able to breathe?
It was better.
It was better?
Yes.
Okay. So you were just beyond about halfway down, you think?
Yeah, well, I estimate, I think, around the 8th floor.
Yeah.
8th or 9th floor. But it was when it was started getting a little bit thinner.
A little bit thinner, okay.
Yes. It's pretty much where I met the firefighters. So.
Could you see any light, any stairwell light at that point?
No.
Okay. And then we can hear shouting in the background. We may be able to back up a second or two and hear that again, if you want to. Perhaps we should.
and he's aware of the situation. Okay, so they are coming to get you.
Okay, thank you.
They are coming to get you. Okay, and then they're going to.
Just pausing there. What was that in the background we could hear, do you think?
I think that was firefighters.
Right.
The thank you wasn't. I have no idea what she was saying to me at that time.
Okay.
That was the fire. I only saw one firefighter at that moment in time, and I spoke to him and told him flat 183 and so on. The girls upstairs, and then as he was going up, I was following him. Then another firefighter grabbed me from behind, and I think that's when he said to me, "You have to keep going down. We'll get them."
Okay.
You can't go up or something like that.
We'll come to
around those
that.
time.
Okay. So at this point, firefighter shouting, was he still below you?
The first one, the second one.
At this point, you hear the shouting. Is the shouting, you said it was coming from a firefighter, was the shouting firefighter above you or below you at this stage?
I think he was just on my level.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Were you continuing to move down at this point?
Very gingerly, yes.
Very gingerly, okay. Okay, let's continue.
Go and get your wife.
Girls, come on, girls.
I tell you, you've done so well. It may not seem like
Oh, shit.
be proud of yourself. Be so proud.
Girls!
You've done.
Come on, girls, please. Please.
I tell you, anyone would like to do like you. Anybody.
Girls! Oh, fuck, I can't even hear them now.
Pause there. You say you can't even hear them now. Could you hear them before?
There was some dialogue before, yes.
Yeah. And we can hear you breathing. Again, does that indicate that it's easier to breathe at this point?
It would have been easier there, yes.
Right. And then continue, if we can.
Are the girls still with you?
Girls!
Have you got them?
Just at that point, what were you doing, do you think?
Probably standing, waiting.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think I was doing much.
Okay. Continue.
Have you got your girls?
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit.
What's the matter?
Just pause there. What was the matter?
I think that might have been a firefighter. Don't know. I don't remember hearing that at the time.
Okay. Just continue.
Hey, my daughter. Downstairs, my daughter. That's my wife. My wife is upstairs. She's pregnant. 183, but she's on the stairs. 821st. Yeah, but she's about halfway down.
Pause. Sounds from that as if that's a dialogue between you and the firefighter.
Yes.
He's asking you questions, which flat, which floor. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, now where was the firefighter in comparison with you? Was he above you or by this point, do you remember?
Probably below me.
Below you,
Yes.
you think? So it hasn't got to your level yet, is that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. That would explain why there was 4 firefighters, and I can only remember 2.
Yeah, okay. At this point, you've got this dialogue with the firefighter. Do you remember how many others were with him or her?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think I might have blocked this one out of my head for some reason.
Right.
Because at the time I thought I just didn't see them go up the stairs. Because there was obviously 4 firefighters that carried my daughter and Helen's daughter down.
Right.
So I couldn't understand how there was 4. And I thought maybe they come out of the landing somewhere and helped. But obviously, looking at this, I spoke to firefighters twice.
Did you feel safer once you'd been able to contact the firefighters?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's continue.
Oh,
Okay, stay with me. Stay with me.
oh, fuck.
Have you got... How many girls have you got with you?
Oh, fuck. No, no, no. Oh.
Are they there?
Oh.
Where the brigade?
Oh.
They're there. Are you...
Oh, my wife, my wife.
Can you see the fireman?
My wife. Oh. My daughter, my wife.
Where are you now?
Just pause there for a moment. We've heard what we've just heard. Do you remember where you were at this point? Were you continuing down or were you standing still?
I think I was standing still, but I was towards the bottom of these stairs at that moment.
Right. So you've gone below the 8th floor, you think?
Yes.
Right.
Not definitely below the 8th floor in that
Right.
moment.
Let's continue.
Look, listen to me. Take a couple of deep breaths, okay, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to answer me, okay? Just get your breath back, okay? Just get your energy back and your breath back, and then I need to ask you a couple of questions.
I need my wife.
Right. So where are you now?
Just pausing.
Sorry, I'm not...
Right, just pausing there. You are told to get your breath back and you can hear you breathing. Were you able to breathe at this point?
Better, yes.
Okay. So whereabouts were you at this point, do you think?
I think that was below the 4th floor.
Below the 4th floor, okay. So had you seen any further firefighters at that point?
No.
Okay. And what was the smoke like at that point?
Breathable.
Breathable. Could you see through it at that stage?
Yes.
Were
I
there
could see
lights?
where I was putting my feet.
Were there lights on in the lobby, in the stairwell?
I can't remember. There was some light coming through, but I can't remember if it was from the stair light or somewhere else.
Okay.
But I could see the steps at that time, and there was a lot of water gushing.
Right. Now we'll pick it up, if we can, at 1952. We'll break there and pause and pick it up 1952, which is on page 23 of the transcript. We can just have that up first. Page 23. Now the audio at 1952.
No, no, come on. Come on, girls. Please. Please. Oh, please. Please. Oh, please. Oh, pardon me. Come down. Can you hear me?
Is that your girls now?
Come on. Come on.
Is that your girls now?
Come on, hold on. Come on.
Can you hear
It's
them?
not...
Now, it's not on the transcript, but we can hear you say, well done. Could you see them at this point?
I don't remember saying that, but I don't know where that is in the transcript. But
right.
If I did say that, it's because I was seeing them being carried out.
Right.
I'm assuming.
Okay. I'm going to jump ahead and pick it up at 2219 on page 25. Page 25 first, please, on the screen, and then we'll play from 2219.
Right, listen to me. Right, listen to me. Okay, you need to be brave, and you need to do what you think is best.
I need to go.
You need to go and find,
I need to find them.
and you need to go back upstairs and get your girls.
I need to go and find them.
Right, stay on the phone. You need to go back and get them as a dad, okay? And I'm sure your wife will be with them as well.
I need to go and find them.
Okay.
Just pause there. We're on page 26 of the transcript. You decided you needed to go back upstairs. Where were you when you made that decision? Do you remember?
At the bottom of the stairs.
On the ground floor or by the lifts?
No, not by the lifts, but in the mezzanine type area.
Right. Okay. Now, at this stage, you presumably could see all the firefighters, could you, in the...
I can look down and see the firefighters congregating in the ground floor.
Okay, right.
Well, if that's correct, yes.
And did you talk to any firefighter at that stage about going back up?
No.
With them? Is there a reason why you didn't grab a firefighter and take one up with you?
They were still all the way downstairs.
Okay. Okay. And then let's continue.
Have your thoughts, okay? Take a few deep breaths, okay? And then make your way slowly up towards your girls. Is there anybody else there that can help you? Is there anybody else in the stairwell that can help you?
Come on, go!
Are you going back up the stairs?
There. Were you climbing by that stage?
I don't know.
I mean, we can hear you panting, and I just wondered why that was, given that the air was clearer where you were.
I may have been panicking. I think I was probably panicking at that time.
Right, okay. And then you go on to say, we don't need this, but why is there no more firemen? There's only a few here. Why did you say there's only a few here?
Because I only saw a few, I guess.
Where did you see the few?
I'm thinking that was the ones I saw at the bottom of the tower in the entrance.
Okay. Right. Now pick this up at 2355, page 27. We're quite close to the end. Top of page 27, and it's 2355 in the audio.
Yeah, go up now. Go up slowly. Just take your time and go up slowly. Right, but you need to stay low to the floor. Try and crawl up the stairs slowly. Don't go too high. Don't stand upright. Get you some energy. Okay, just get some energy and have a rest. Alright? Gather your breath and then do the next bit. Do a bit at a time. Don't do it all at once because you won't get there. Do a little bit at a time.
How long can you survive in smoke? Oh, come on. Oh.
Okay. Now, were you climbing at this point? Back up the stairs, do you think?
I think I tried, yes.
How far up do you think you got?
Not very far.
When you say nobody could survive the smoke, did you mean the smoke at that level you were then on, or higher up the building?
higher up the building.
Okay. And we can hear shouting in the background. What was that?
I think that was the firefighters below.
Who were in the stairwell?
At that, I think I said to them, there's more girls at the top. That was, if I remember correctly, that was a couple of firefighters carrying somebody out.
Right, so they were... I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I said there's more, and where are you going, or something like that.
I see. So these firefighters we can hear here are carrying a casualty down, is that...
Yes.
Right, I see. Okay. And then she goes on to say, we don't need to hear the transcript, the audio, but she says, have you got anything that you can put... Can you move your jumper or your T-shirt up over your mouth for a little while? Do you remember doing that? Did you do that?
At this moment in time, I don't remember nothing that she said.
Right,
I don't think I was even listening.
Right.
But just to put that in context,
Yes.
if I'm correct in my timing, then my daughter and Helen's daughter are already out at that point. I've already seen them be carried out. I was panicking at that point because on the way down in the stairwell we had to go over bodies. I stepped on some. I tripped up on some, and somebody grabbed my cuff. So at that time, I couldn't comprehend how the girls were behind me when I was the last person. So I started thinking that the bodies that I stepped on, I stepped over, was my wife and my daughter. So that's why I kept shouting for my wife and wanted to go back up the stairs and find them. I didn't know where they were.
Take a moment. Mr. Gomes, we're quite near the end of this. Are you all right to continue to the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's pick it up at bottom of page 27. At 25 minutes and 46 seconds into the call. This is, just so you know, this is the last section we're going to play.
There's more girls up there. Oh, where you going? There's more. Oh, fucking hell. Where's my wife? My wife is upstairs. Oh, fuck. Where's my wife? Oh, please, fuck. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, please. I need to go upstairs.
Just pause there. At the beginning of that, we can see and hear you say, I can't breathe, and it's very muffled sounds. Had you gone up again into the smoke?
I don't think so. I think I was just having a panic attack.
I see, okay.
I think.
And you say, no, where are you going, there's more. Who were you talking to?
Probably firefighter.
You don't remember?
No.
I mean, do you remember who, sorry, I'm trying a different way. Do you remember how many firefighters there were when you were telling them that, where are you going?
I don't. I remember there was 2 coming down with somebody, but I don't remember any more than that.
And then we can hear shouting in the last part of that.
Yes.
Where you're saying what you say at the top of page 28 of the transcript. What was that shouting? Who
In
was
the
shouting?
background,
Yes.
that was the firefighters on the ground floor.
On the ground floor?
Yes.
Right. Not in the stairwell?
No.
Okay.
So I would have been at the bottom of the stairwell in the mezzanine floor. And I'd probably look down to the ground
I see.
at that
Okay.
moment.
And then, well, we've just got a couple more pages to go in the transcript. Page 28, a quarter of the way down, if we could just restart.
Right, so where are you now?
This is the fucking worst nightmare. Come on, girls. Come on. Oh, fucking in. Come on, my wife is upstairs, she's pregnant.
Just pause there. When you were saying, come on, girls, come on, did you have a sense of how close they were at that point?
No, my girls had, my oldest daughter and Helen's daughter had already gone out. That was just in reference to my wife and my other daughter.
Yeah, okay.
It was just shouting for the sake of shouting. I have no idea where they were. I just wanted to see them walk down or walk through somewhere or carried out or something. I just wanted something to happen.
Yeah. And we can hear you say, come on, my wife is upstairs. Who were you talking to?
I think I shouted over the barrier to the fireman.
I see, okay. I'm going to skip over the next page through 28 and pick it up at the beginning of 29 at 28 minutes and 28 seconds.
My wife upstairs, she's pregnant. I say I've got it. I need to go up. I need to go up and get it. I need to get this. I need to get no. No, there's only a few of you. I need to go and get my wife. I know she's upstairs. She's pregnant. She's 7 months pregnant. I don't know. She's upstairs. She's upstairs. I know. I need to go. I need to go upstairs. Oh, my door is falling. Oh, fuck. I'm fine. I see my wife.
Hello? Hello, who are you talking to?
Okay, we can stop there. So, at that stage, you're talking to. It sounds as if you're talking to somebody. Do you remember who you were talking to?
I think that was a firefighter that was taking. Well, I think she was a firefighter that was taking me out of the building.
Right. So during the process of what we've just heard, were you being escorted out, or were you standing still in the building?
Escorted out.
Right.
Or dragged out.
Right. Okay. And we can hear coughing.
Yeah.
What was that? Were you still coughing because? Well, what was the smoke like at that stage?
Well, I couldn't really see too much smoke, I guess, but
Right.
it was still in your lungs.
Right.
So the coughing is just the reaction.
Well, Mr. Gomez, you'll be pleased to know, I think, that that is all I propose to play to you from the call. The entire transcript stands in the record, Mr. Chairman, and I'm grateful to you, Mr. Gomes, and to you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to go on well beyond our normal time, but I thought it was right that we took that in one go.
Yeah, I'm sure it was very important to do that, yes.
I've got no further questions that I either want to put to the witness or need to, and to be fair to the witness, I think it would probably be not a particularly efficient use of his time. So I'm going to say at this point that I've come to the end of my questions. We normally have the traditional break at this point for any further questions.
But in some cases I've felt that it was unnecessary to ask the witness to go out of the room while other counsel have a word with you. So can I just invite an indication at this stage whether anyone has points they wish to put to Mr. Millett? You shouldn't feel inhibited because I'm doing it this way, because Mr. Gomes and I will ignore you while you speak to Mr. Millett if you need to, but if you don't need to, so much the better. Right. Do you mind, Mr. Gomes? We'll just ignore them and see whether there are any more questions. I'm sure you'd like to finish before we rise.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah, I've been ignoring them all the way through.
Sorry?
I've been ignoring them all the way through.
I have one question for you, and it's the question we have been asking all witnesses at the end of their evidence. And it's this. In addition to the two witness statements that you've given us and the evidence that you've given us today, is there anything else about what you heard, what you felt, you smelt, you saw on the night of the fire itself that you think it's important that the chairman should know?
Well, there isn't much more I can add that hasn't already been said so well. However, I think it's important to acknowledge that the NHS staff as well that evening were amazing, and in our case, King's College Hospital staff did everything that they could to help us and others. Also, I'd like to thank the firefighters that were on the ground and helping as much as they could, carrying people out and doing all sorts. But mistakes were made, I think, as you know. Contrary to somebody's beliefs, there's a lot of changes that would have happened if we could go back there and change. But we all know we can't change the past, but we can influence the future. So, I beg you, make those decisions and influence the future. The decisions, or better yet, the lack of decisions at the time cost lives. And I truly believe that a lot more lives would have been saved if things were done quicker. We've discussed the lessons learnt. I've heard that before. There's been lots of lessons learnt in the past, but we need actions. We need those lessons actually completed, and not in 10 years' time. People need to feel safe in their homes. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Thank you. Thank you for that, and thank you for all of your evidence. And I just want to express our gratitude on behalf of the inquiry to you for coming here today and assisting us with our investigations. We really very much appreciate it, so thank you.
No, thank you.
And I'm very grateful to you, Mr. Gomes. You've had an extraordinary and terrible experience, and you've given us a very clear, careful account of what went on that night as far as you and your family were concerned. And you've given your evidence, if I may say so, with great courage and great dignity. And we're very grateful to you for allowing us to ask you questions about something as personal as the call we've just been listening to.
Thank you.
Thank
Hope
you.
it helps.
Thank you very much indeed. And now it's over and you're free to go.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, Mr. Millett, that is no doubt a convenient point.
It is.
Is there other work for us to do later on? I think
Yes, there are two statements which I would wish to read into the record.
Yes. Well, I think we might do that after we've had a
After a
break.
suitable break, yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Well, we've had a very long morning. Thank you all for sitting here so patiently. I felt it was really important that we should complete Mr. Gomes' evidence if we could before we had a break. I'm going to break for slightly longer than usual this time, and we'll resume at 10 to 3.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.